According to the general theory of relativity, gravity is not a force. There are no gravitational fields. Gravity is kind of an illusion.
What the hell did you just say?
Gravity is kind of an illusion.
Oh,
In general relativity, there is no mystery. All objects appear to fall the same way because, well, they're not accelerating.
Oh, son of a... That's gonna leave a mark.
Let's put another shrimp on the barbie.
Gravity is just like that force. It doesn't actually exist.
Say what?
But in general relativity, there is no gravitational force. There is no gravitational field. Gravitational fields do not exist.
Prepare yourself.
Ball-tards.
In standard Newtonian physics, we draw your weight force, the force of gravity pushing you down, and the normal force from the floor pushing you up. We say these forces are equal and opposite, so there's no net force on you, so you are not accelerating. But in general relativity, gravity is not a force. You have no weight, so the only force on you are these normal forces pushing you up. Gravity is not a force. There are no gravitational fields. You have no weight. Well, they're not accelerating. Gravity is kind of an illusion. Gravity is just like that force. It doesn't actually exist.
Hello, baby.
Oh, well, everybody's heard about the bird. The bird's a winner.
we're off. Welcome to BALLBUSTERS, episode 115. The Gravy Train, Gravity. As usual, if you'd like to support this channel, there are PayPal and Patreon links in the info box below. Let's head on over to Discord, where the distinguished Nathan Oakley is, hopefully.
I am. What do you mean, hopefully? Of course I'm here.
You guys...
Our show. Our show.
You guys cut it late, man. I trust that you guys will be here. I couldn't look back, but I know you're pretty dependable.
Pretty dependable, but pretty useless. So I'm trying to make my way into different servers at the moment, as you've heard on the rumblings, and you're like, why didn't you come to me, or whatever your moan was? I forget now. It was inconsequential, I've got to be honest. Anyway, because I'm utterly useless at this sort of technical stuff, I've got to have like a whole team of supporters around me working to get me into different places. Like I'm some big bauble that needs to be wrapped up and put on a shin and carried around into these servers and dumped down so I can yell at people.
So you can yell at them.
No, not yell at them. I've just been told it's very clear. There's server rules. The server rules. You've already been banned, have you not?
Which one?
Politics.
Yeah, I'm banned from politics. Yeah. Have you gone in there?
No, that's what I'm saying. I'm putting on some pencil and getting myself on a cushion and waiting for someone to pick me up and drop me in one of these servers. I can't take the picture of the crema now, Hunt. It's too late, I'm afraid. Neil wanted a picture of the crema on the coffee. My wife's coming, do you want a picture of this?
Yeah, I remember that conversation. Yeah. Shout out to Tony Wickham. You'll love this, Nathan. Tony Wickham, I was 56 years old before the intro. Now I'm 58.
Yeah. Add to the Adam Meakin for making all our intros. Oh, Neil, go.
No, man, that's funny.
That's not Neil.
That's not, is it? It's someone else. Someone's nicked his phone and pretended to be Neil.
Yeah. Tony was trolling before, talking about the. He said before this, you may start after your 2-hour intro. The wise guy.
Are you still permabanned then on 24/7 politics?
It's not 24/7 politics. It's just the politics server. I don't know. I haven't checked. I left. I just deleted it.
Why? I thought you enjoyed it. You were always mentioning how you were getting on in the politics server. Now people are trying to convince me to go in there.
Yeah, it got old quick, man. It was, it was below 2015 level. It was okay, I'd like to go slumming every now and again, but after about, it was about a week, I had my fill of that place.
Okay. Well, you can fill me in. I mean, you say it's what did you say, 2015?
Yes.
You say 2015. Is that because that's the year you joined this discussion?
I did not join this discussion. That was a year I joined. I know the date, May 15th, 2016. That is the day I arrived here. So when I say 2015 arguments, of course I went back a little bit when I first came into the community to check out the videos and see, the not the beginnings, but roughly the beginnings. And I went back and reviewed all those, and it was more or less just rudimentary reprobate, argument. You remember them, right?
I'm trying to figure out when I started. I can't remember if it's 2014 or 2015, but I thought it was like a couple of years before you came in.
It could possibly be. Yeah, I came in, like I said, that day. It was that day, May 15th, 2016.
Fair enough. I mean, there's a whole bunch of us all started around the same sort of time, shortly after Powerland and shortly before Ark did his Blues. Sure. And a lot of them still friends, like Arwen. I think Arwen was about that at that sort of time. All right, Matt. About the same for you, Arwen, if you're listening. Just before Mark Sargent.
I started my channel 2016, but yeah, I mean, I was already there in chats and all that.
Okay.
And what that be?
No, wait, it couldn't have been. I was just watching stuff, and then I got with you on the flat Earth debates as quick as I could.
I'm just trying to think of before that. So before, it was around time of John Le Bon doing the Ball Earth Skeptic, and I think Debate had done 2,200 proofs already. I remember in terms of, I always think of it in terms of what videos were out about the time. But what I do know is after Bay had released a bit of Ask Powerlands material and started to get into an argument with it. And it was before Mark had done his clues. That was when I joined. So if someone knows, when did Mark do his clues? When were they released? That would probably date it for me.
That was 2015 late.
Late or early?
Superchat.
Super fluid.
John Birch. If the Baltards only understood the gravity of their situation.
That's it. That's nice play. I like where your mind's at, and you're exactly right. Yeah, they won't let this one go, man. It just doesn't go away. Like, you'll get, rinse and repeating of many a topic, but gravity is just underneath the surface everywhere, right? And always kind of pops up, and no one knows what they're talking about it, right? So I don't know. I must have done 15, 20 presentations on this so far, somewhere in that vicinity.
There was one particular thing about people not knowing that stuck in my mind that you told me, which was if you can ascertain someone's education level, you automatically know whether or not you're dealing with somebody. Not automatically, there's going to be exceptions, but generally you'll know that you're either dealing with somebody who hasn't gone into scientific higher education, and therefore they are at the point of Newtonian only.
Yes.
They might be fleetingly aware of bent pseudo-force space-time. They haven't been taught it. They've been taught mass attracts mass. So in some way, shape, or form, if they are aware of bent pseudo-force space-time, they still think gravity's a force, basically. If they're beyond the higher education of science, that is to say they've done a scientific subject at university, and they are aware of bent pseudo-force space-time, and that gravity's not a force. It basically fits into two categories, in case you can't figure that out from now. People who do know it's a force and are wrong, and people who know it's not a force, they're also wrong. They know it's not a force.
It's more or less what you said, yes, but it's not always cut and dry. Sometimes, this is really twisted version, you'll get somebody that Jedi mind tricked themselves that they do have a higher education and have gone over general relativity, but still have that underlying, like it's just like a simmer of Newtonian mechanics. It's very strange. It's hard to deal with. It's like theistic evolution. I just got to go take a shower.
Well, it's just a Musa quote that sums that up, right? Gravity is not a force. But you can think of it as a force.
That was really stupid for him to say that.
I remember Chocolate going around the Skype reeking. Have you seen this? And Anthony. There was a couple of people that were like just gobsmacked by it when they watched it basically first get released on like the Flat Earth channel. When he was doing useful stuff.
Yeah, it was Chocolate and Anthony that just they were carrying the flag, boy, everywhere they went. Memories.
This day, Chocolate still quotes him.
I know he does.
Yeah,
Can we see? We must.
Oh,
we must. Oh, I was about to give another music. Right, I'll stop.
Yeah, hold on a sec. Hey, Brian, let's get a radio check. Your mic's been acting up the past couple weeks.
No, my mic is fine. It's my throat is bad, so my voice.
You got a cold. Okay,
Yeah,
I got you.
Yeah. There's nothing wrong with my mic. It's that Nathan is trying to blame my mic. My mic is the same mic it's always been. So, not my mic.
I thought of a solution just now, Brian. The solution is to stick you in Discord, and you won't cause any Discord issues.
No, I won't. I won't be going there.
I'm not slumming it in Discord. How dare you?
I'm not going there. I am barely in here.
Oh, and I was thinking too. I'm watching. I love the intro, by the way. Shout out to Adam, who's in here, but shockingly hasn't said anything yet. And I'm watching the intro. Like I said, it's magnificent. It's one of the best intros I've ever seen. However, it's a little bit out of date. I thought we talked about this before, about updating like the members in BALLBUSTERS. It's somewhere in here anymore. You'd figure you'd get a clue, right, Adam? Start, put a fire underneath it, in that vein.
Yeah, I get that.
I'm not the most motivated at the moment.
No, I didn't say at the moment. I just meant sometime, I don't know, within the next 2 years.
That seems
Some
reasonable.
People just don't get it. Some people just don't get it, Adam. You do a nice deed for them. You make them a nice intro. Next thing you know, you're intro support, aren't you?
Your intro support. That's good.
I've promised it for a while, so.
Yeah, he has. He's promised.
No good deed.
He's promised the intro and the outro, because I can't use the outro anymore because I get copyright strike because of the music on there.
No good deed goes unpunished.
That's true.
Well, I can't wait to talk.
No, go ahead, John.
I was going to try to throw in a gravity pun, but I don't think y'all were done yet.
Nah,
it wouldn't have gone down well.
I wanted to go back and because we were going down memory lane, and did you come on here first, Nathan, or was Adam already out here?
The pun probably wouldn't have went down very well anyway.
I got it.
Did anyone hear? Is my mic working?
We just want to do puns. What's wrong with him?
So let me ask.
Can't wait to talk about now.
Are we going to talk about helium puddles in a vacuum?
No, we're talking about. I tried to shift it back because I like reminiscing and stuff. I want to know, not that it's important, but who was out here first? Was it Adam or you, Nathan, or right around the same time?
Nathan.
I was I was before Adam, but I thought Alwyn was around the same time. It's just because I've known Alwyn for so many years now that it seems like he's been there forever, right? But obviously Alwyn was around a couple of years after me in terms of videography, by the sounds of things. No, I go back a very long way.
No, I'm talking about
most.
I'm talking about flat Earth centric, not if out here on YouTube.
No, I'm talking just flat Earth. If you talk about YouTube, I started on YouTube a couple of years after YouTube started. I started in 2006, 7, something like that.
Wow.
On YouTube, making videos. I've been here forever. In terms of flat Earth, I've been here about 10 years, I think. I just don't know exactly.
So 2014?
I think so.
Wow.
Long time.
So yeah,
10 years. Some of us have been in this subject.
So you're one
Paolan's
of the
been in this subject longer.
Oh, brother, you're one of the grandfathers then. So, and you said it was Math Powerland. Now, did you see that on YouTube or did you see that in print somewhere and then you got to YouTube? How'd that go down?
It's just auto-played on YouTube. My introduction, Math Powerland. Played on YouTube.
There's something that I watched today on Math Powerland that I want to burn my eyes out of my skull.
Okay, that sounds a bit Math Powerland.
The weird tranny dance thing with Dubé, or?
It was a scene from a film that he was in.
Oh.
Is that it?
Is it an MTV movie where he kisses a guy?
Yeah, it was more than that.
What?
Okay.
That's just a girl.
Don't be bashful. Let's hear it.
I don't feel comfortable talking more about it. I just wanted to say what I said to make get it off my chest.
Send it to Neil, Flatsy. He's into his gay porn at the moment.
Oh, brother.
Well, those videos that I sent about Dell that I found today. You guys, when you don't put out content, this is what I stumble across, and I'm just like kind of sick to my stomach right now. So it's on
We
the
want to hear
same.
about it.
It's
Well,
on
tell
the
us.
same. It's on the same YouTube channel that I found that about Dell. That's in the text chat.
Yeah, we
What
don't
about
want to
Dell?
go. I don't want this.
Oh, I do.
No,
I do.
no, I don't. I don't.
I don't either. Yeah.
I don't like that drama, and no, not a National Enquirer. I'm anti National Enquirer. Yeah, if you didn't catch that clue by now.
Let me get it right. We could be talking about what we'd eaten today, yet there's gossip, gossip that we could be talking about and we're not.
Yeah, ragtag gossip.
Don't light a match near a gunpowder vat, okay, Flatsy?
Look,
Yeah,
I'm
don't
sorry.
titillate us. You've titillated us, and now I'm intrigued.
Well, it was math. I wanted to
this.
stay on Math Powerland because so Math Powerland first out here? Was he the one?
You want to know the order? First person out in this arena, you're never going to believe who it is.
Yeah, I heard. He said it, and I said, get the heck out of here. Charles Flat Earth Math.
Charles Flat Earth Math.
Yeah.
Right. He,
Yeah.
as far as I can ascertain, is the longest standing person in this arena because he overlaps with the last wave. Before any of us even were here, he was debating with flat earthers on forums before YouTube even existed. So he, as far as I can ascertain, has been in this arena longer than any of us. And then Math Powerland.
What forums? What are you talking about? A wave? So there was waves of flat earthers like in the 90s?
There's been waves. Yeah, about every 10 years. We are the longest lasting. About every 10 years, there's a little resurgence. And you can go back. I've seen a few from the 70s that Dave Weiss dug up about 5 years ago, where he showed a few, shockingly, billboards about flat Earth back in the 70s, where someone had done pretty much the same thing that we did. Remember when they hired a billboard on some highway?
Mm-hmm.
Well, they did that in the 70s.
Huh.
Okay. Indeed.
Good.
I haven't talked about this for a while. I used to describe it as this is my fill in the crack spiel. They will let out a little bit of flat Earth every 10 years, see what the responses are, so they can fill in the heliocentric cracks in the concrete. No one notices them. This time, things seem to be different because of the widespread information that is easier to get to from many, many, many people across the world. So because of that, the cracks that were maybe just opened up a little bit to see what would happen have now become gazing chasms with us going, well, Earth's just measured flat. We don't even care about the ball anymore. That's our attitude. Now, obviously, that is a far cry from the whole world behaving like that. But it doesn't seem like from Rowbotham all the way up until now, it's any more than a little resurgence and then a little pushback and then it goes away. And then there's a little resurgence, a little pushback, and then it goes away.
So this is the latest iteration, and you're saying it took off mainly by social media and YouTube?
In this instance, most definitely. YouTube, specifically YouTube.
Yeah, specifically.
This
YouTube.
current resurgence was purely YouTube based. Mostly. Now it's obviously everywhere else, but
yes.
It's made its way from YouTube to the mainstream, and I don't think that was ever intended to be the case. It just left the floodgates open too long.
Very interesting. I wasn't really aware of that. I'm not up on my flat Earth history. Sorry.
Well, I did about 150 interviews with every single person that had come to the subject to date on I called it Flat Earth United Kingdom. Very boring. But it was just an interview show. And my first question to every single guest, how did you find out Earth was flat? And basically it was just a discussion on how they'd come to the subject. So I got obviously varying degrees of lengths of history, some non-existent, all the way up to people like Math and Charles, both of which I interviewed also, in terms of their history through the subject. People have been critical, going, oh, back in the day you were all nice about it. And it's like, yeah, well, you do. You tentatively put your toe in the water. Now, I wasn't that conspiratard that came and went, oh my God, Earth's flat and Mandela's real and we're all going to be invaded by aliens. No. I was much more tentative about the subject and wanted to research it and find out from others who'd done the research, because I'm lazy, what they had researched, so I could steal it from them. 150 interviews later. That's not quite true, but it is. That's how you learn, right? I'm just joking.
Yeah, I know. I got
but my point is that I wanted to know how this had come to pass. That was how is this happening is what I was most intrigued with. And how is this happening? It can only be explained by the individual in terms of how it has happened to them.
I can give you a
want
bit
to
of
get some
history on
factual
it if you
data.
want.
Yeah, go ahead. That would be brilliant, Brian. Yes, please. You're normally the history man.
Well, I'm going to start in the 50s. It was around the 50s, a man called Samuel Shenton. I know my voice is not good, but it's going to be hard for people to understand that.
I'll turn you.
Yeah, a man in London. Thank you.
No, people are all right with it. I think we're all cool with you being Irish. Actually, now we all deal with it. I think.
I came across Shenton because he was an evotard. So I had already come across him now, not studying flat Earth, but just in my travels, his name had popped up. So go ahead. Sorry to interrupt.
Well, I don't know how he's an evotard because he was a staunch Christian, this man I'm talking about. And it was the Genesis, what we call the Feast of Nonsense, but he would have promoted the ice wall and the dome. But he was promoting, Samuel Shenton was his name, in the 50s, and he used to hold meetings. And people like George Bernard Shaw and that famous astronomer, the guy with the one eye monocle, a British guy, heavy set guy. Can't remember his name now. Sir something. Sorry?
Patrick Moore.
Patrick Moore.
Patrick Moore.
Yes. People like Patrick Moore and George Bernard Shaw went along to his presentations and they were very, very impressed. They had some pretty positive things to say about him, as in, like, he made some good points there. We can't really, they couldn't really refute. But when his time started kind of coming to a close, he was getting older. He passed on the baton to a man called Charles K. Johnson, a man from Texas, who took it up the mantle in the 70s. And from the 70s, 80s, right through to the mid 90s, Charles K. Johnson went around. Him and his wife, who was an Australian lady, went around the world, proving that the Earth was not a globe. With the Suez Canal and different things like that.
Mm-hmm.
And is it the Suez Canal? Which one is?
Sorry, just to interrupt, Brian. Before we get into the Suez Canal, is that about the time that you got the Flat Earth Society becoming a lot more prevalent around that sort of time? Maybe that's to counter them.
Yeah. See, that's one of the things I was going to go into. Charles K. Johnson was an absolute opponent of the Flat Earth Society because he saw them as a completely false group. The head of them was a guy called Leo Ferrari, and this guy was very, very dodgy. And Charles K. Johnson was total enemies to the grave with this guy. He saw them as completely false, as putting out information that wasn't correct, and basically trying to just play kind of the opposition while trying to pretend they're on the same side. He hated them. And the same with Samuel Shenton. They came a little bit after him, but while they were prevalent around Charles K. Johnson's time, and he hated them because he saw them as just manipulators and deceivers. Because both Samuel Shenton and Charles K. Johnson were staunch Christians as well. So he saw them as deceivers. But yeah, Charles K. Johnson, his house got burned down by arson in 1996, and his wife was already a bit ill, but that didn't help her. She had lung issues. So whatever the smoke did to her lungs, I think he ended up looking after her, having to be her carer, and all his stuff, all thousands of documents and different things, all the information he gathered for several decades, all got burned down with the house. It was everything burned to a cinder. And he ended up looking after his wife, and then she passed away, I think, in 1998, and then he passed away in 2001. And the next we hear about it is Matt Powerland in 2011. I think he first came onto the scene, or 2013.
Sort of. He came onto the scene in a more international sense around then because of YouTube again. But prior to that, he was doing stand-up. So he was doing that in the mid-2000s. And one of the videos that he did in the mid-2000s was a video that he then ended up publishing on YouTube. So he obviously looks considerably younger in that video. But yeah, so obviously there is no interruption then. My inference that there's a gap and then a resurgence isn't necessarily... It kind of ebbs and flows, right? It's always it's always underlying, it's always there, but it's kind of either it doesn't go away, in other words, the flat Earth subject. Well, why would it, I suppose, is the obvious answer, the obvious question, because it can't go away. We're now figuring that out. Obviously, you don't have to burn our houses down in this instance. We can be far more easily memory hold. It's a double-edged sword in terms of this resurgence. I say it's permeated far more of the population this time around because of YouTube. Does that not make it far easier to just memory hole it all, and then 5 years no one will remember?
It makes it easier. Go on, QE. You're going to say something.
I want to correct myself because the Shenton name threw me because the Evotard leader of the Flat Earth Society was named Daniel Shenton.
It's a bit weird, isn't it? Because the main guy, this is the thing. They're like mirroring the real people, and the Flat Earth Society got all the advertisement. So now that you say that, that name does sound familiar to me. Daniel Shenton,
both Shentons, right? But I think this one came after Samuel. I don't know if they're related. They're probably not related, but the same name. That's what threw me. The same last name. Sorry.
Well, we're dealing with the same stuff. As in, we're dealing with a group of people who get way more promotion than us. Yet they give people are giving the impression that these people are being held back, but they're not being held back like we are. David Weiss, Jaron Campanella, these people, and they're pumping out a lot of rubbish, but their rubbish is getting out there. Just like Flat Earth Society's rubbish was getting out there many years ago. And the more honest stuff doesn't always have to be 100% correct. I can't say there's an ice wall in the dome, but the point is that it's at least if you're honest about it. And that's the thing about it. The people like Samuel Shenton and Charles K. Johnson were honest about it. Do you know what I mean? Whereas the Flat Earth Society were not honest. They were a dodgy group, and we have dishonesty now in today's world, who are opposing us, who are our biggest enemy, really, because they're the ones that are going to poison the well more than the baller as well. They're the ones that will poison the well. They're the ones that will make us look stupid. They'll character assassinate us by character assassinating themselves, by doing stupid stuff publicly and saying stupid stuff publicly and being wrong publicly. They're, as far as I'm concerned, they're our biggest enemy, as far as I'm concerned. But anyway.
Well, thanks for the history lesson, man. I appreciate that. I didn't know you went into any research with that.
What did Math Powerland do? Well, now we're up to date. What did Math Powerland do?
We started off as a comedian.
No. What did he do recently?
Recently? I haven't seen anything from him recently.
Blatzy?
Do you know?
Brought it up.
Blatzy.
Oh, it wasn't recent. It was something, I saw this channel that I stumbled across and watched some of the stuff on here. So I just shared it with you guys. It's on that channel if you wanted to check it out. I don't necessarily want to talk about it.
Okay, fine. Did you put it in the Ballbusters Skype?
Yeah, the La Verdad Absoluta.
I don't know what that means.
I think it's like absolute truth.
Doesn't the way that the conversation's been framed up to this point prop up the heliocentric paradigm? Because you have people in a what is subject talking about what they believe to be true. Like, that's just propping up heliocentrism as far as I can tell.
True. Very much so.
Where'd you place the Math Powerland? I'm in Ballbusters. I'm looking in here.
Yeah, everyone's distracted. I want to get involved with the conversation. Flatsy, this is all your fault. You know that, right?
Yes, and I'm so
all
sorry.
I'm doing is,
I think
all
it's
I'm
your
doing is
fault.
I'm going into Skype going, well, you brought it up. My fault. How dare you?
I came across this information because I had already listened to the content that you released today.
Me?
Yeah, about
Or
Ether.
6 hours ago.
Oh, my bad. I see. You've watched a few members only videos or something, and all the content that's available. You've gone right. Well, else am I going to dig out? I need to keep myself amused. And then you've come across this about Dell and math, but it isn't necessarily recent. It's just recently been acquired by you.
Exactly.
All right. I understand. What did math do? I'm only joking. What did you just say, John? Let's keep the conversation going away from the gossip now.
Yeah.
Well, the way it's been framed.
Now, which John? Your favorite one or me?
Refracted.
Yeah, figured.
My favorite. Refracted, please. Shush. Go ahead, John. The important one.
Oh, I was just saying the way the conversation has been framed up until recently has been what is topic, but discussing what you believe about it. You know, like, oh, I believe it's not a globe, or I believe it's not flat. That shouldn't even be entering the topic as far as I'm concerned.
I totally agree. I trimmed out that sentiment to open one of my videos. It's currently members only. Check it out if you're a member of Nathan Oakley 1980 channel. Remember which one, but one of the videos starts with you saying the be all and end all of in the punchline, the be all and end all of reality is measuring it in terms of what is, and Earth is measured flat. Now, he didn't say it in that ring, but I chopped together two bits to make those two sentiments work as an intro. I'll dig it out and see if I can play it. Obviously, I'm not going to do that immediately. Again, sorry?
I said you're talking about John's testimony.
Well, it's just stating a matter of fact. You know, I've tried to concisely summarize it in, you don't need to debate about it. This isn't something that's contentious. This is something we've established. This is how we're all going to measure it. All of that sentiment is summarized in John's statement about it being the be all and end all of the what is. I can't remember what he said. Just give me a second. I'm going to go and find it because I want to play it.
Oh, what's happening with Matt Powerland and Dell? What's that about? Why is it no one wants to talk?
What?
Nope.
Right.
Don't.
Okay.
See, I just came across it, so I'm not trying to make any claims. I was just showing you guys what I came across, if you wanted to check it out.
I'll shut up about it.
All right, I found it. Okay, so it's in a video called Xenu Measures Earth Flat. Very appropriate.
Because measurement is the beginning and end of what is in the physical world. You know it's flat because you measure it that way.
That's it.
I love it.
Hey, Flatsy, could you post a link to the juicy gossip in the Discord, please?
Yeah, that's...
It's in there. It's right there in the BALLBUSTERS text chat. Even B with a Buzz reposted it.
Yeah, twice.
Oh.
You know how sometimes suppressing something, Frankie Goes to Hollywood being an example, can sometimes propel it further?
Yeah.
Us all saying that we really want to talk about it behind the closed doors of a live stream will definitely encourage people to do exactly that based on the intrigue that we have. So this will be amplified based on what we've done. So if that was what you were hoping to achieve, Flatsy, well done.
Oh, brother, I just needed to share my pain.
You could also put it to rest by posting the link in like chat.
I posted it.
I think we should just watch it. I think we should just watch it on the live
You
stream.
think we should then?
Well, well, it's off topic really, because when I say it's off topic, it's like it's not dealing with physics and geometry. It's dealing with interpersonal stuff.
Yeah.
And people's agendas and different things like that. So it really has nothing to do with anything, you know, regardless of what it's about.
Yeah, I'm not really into that. Unless it reaches like critical mass and it starts to turn rancid, then perhaps, but not until then. I was hoping Nathan would give a summary of his latest mandate for everyone to hear. He chose to go on another server this week. I don't know who recommended that server, but and he went on there and tried to put forth his mandate to what I like to call the Jane Fonda server or the land of misfit toys, and wonder how that went.
Well, firstly, thank you very much to Earth Awakenings for having us. Really appreciate your hospitality. As he's just basically poisoned the well slightly. Nevertheless, my mandate, I've never heard it phrased that way. You should define what a mandate is before I lose track of what I'm going to go through, because what's a mandate? I don't know what a mandate is.
It sounded so damn good. You have, because I don't know the exact definition. I can get close. Because you're like one of the fathers, like we just established the flat Earth. No matter if you want to be or not, you are. And that gives you a certain level of responsibility. If I'm using it right, or maybe
I was mandated to become to look into the Ethereum stuff. Yeah, so I was mandated to go and look into it. I was given an authority, an order to go and do something. So politically, it's used, isn't it? So a politician.
It's an exercise of responsibility. Perfect. You've contextualized it now. It's sort of like me saying this is my authoritarian means that I have at my disposal being laid down in this statement. That's how you could describe a mandate.
It's your duty. It's a duty type of thing based on your position. That's how I take it. It might be wrong, but please, can we get past?
No, I understand now. It makes it more like it's an official thing.
Yes.
Gotcha.
Ruining it.
Go on, Brian.
I'm just saying that you're ruining it. I said to Kiwi. I said he's ruining it, Kiwi.
I know
he's building it up. He's building it up. Brilliant. I mean, you say mandate. It's just my sentiment to try and alleviate my own stress. That's why I questioned it, because it's like I said to the Earth Awakening server. A lot of the people in this arena who are my peers, whether I like it or not, piss me off. I like them. Why don't I like them? Because they're not doing that I would hope to have as my past, and isn't. My past is coming to Flat Earth and seeing Flat Earth in the title, and at the end of the process of watching a Flat Earth in quotes video, didn't find out that the Earth is measured flat. And that would have been a lot more useful as a starting point to this subject matter, because then I'd have a different road ahead of me rather than anti-Flat Earth or Flat Earth. I'd have caring about the past I'm leaving behind in the form of the globe, or worrying about debating with people who are still on the globe as one path. The other path being get on with my life because I know, I don't have any belief, I know it's measured flat. In other words, you come to tomorrow's show, or this show, for the sake of argument, if this was the future and we were now adhering to this mandate because it was just matter of course and that's how we were all functioning as flat earthers. But you come to this show as a newbie, and the first thing you hear is a subject being discussed about how Earth is measured flat, and a specific aspect of functional flat Earth measuring being discussed on the show. So even though you're not leaving after 20 minutes of discussion with all of the tools suddenly amazingly available in your arsenal to debate a globe zealot, you leave going, it's measured flat. And I kind of knew that the rail network was all flat. Or I kind of already knew that navigation was done with flat maps because of it needing to be flat because of X. In other words, there's going to be something in there that they'll relate to, the audience that is, when they find out in the first instance, Earth is measured flat. Now, in so doing, your attitude is adjusted as a personality on YouTube. So from my perspective, or QE's perspective, or Adam's or whoever is on this panel's perspective, your attitude going forward into 2024 is moderately adjusted so that instead of debunking the globe and attacking a position through exemplary understanding of the globe as our starting point, stating that Earth is measured flat is our starting point. It's our opener. And there's two benefits to that. Number one, you're not annoying the person that you're telling. Why is that? You're telling them it's flat. Surely that... No. What annoys people is being duped. It is far easier to dupe somebody than to convince them they've been duped. Ergo, to convince somebody they've been duped onto a ball, fundamental paradigm they hold, is incredibly difficult. Don't get me wrong, we've all gone through that road and we're all exemplary with our heliocentric understanding and can overcome globe Earth zealots. We run a flat Earth debate. In essence, that's what this is. However, as a flat earther, my first instinct moving into 2024 is to tell, seems obvious, people Earth is flat as my opener. When I put this out to my wife, broke it down and went, that seems incredibly obvious. It seems like you're not really telling anybody anything. You're telling flat earthers to tell people Earth's flat. And I said, yeah, that in essence is what I'm saying. I'm telling flat earthers to just tell people Earth's flat. It doesn't sound like that hard of a message until you listen to some flat Earth videos historically and you hear how people aren't open-minded enough to undoing of a globe understanding that their opponent in this instance, because they've immediately become an opponent, has told them they're wrong, that they're dumb, and that they don't understand, and that they've been duped. Oh, and also Earth's flat, and I'm not going to give you any proof for that, but if you've got an open mind, you'll understand it.
Super chat.
That's it. Good timing.
Super chat, super fluid. Go on.
Okay. Tony Whitcomb. Read my last comment and ask Bev to explain his position, or don't. Superfluid am I, or I am.
Yeah, we're going with the
I said,
latter.
am I?
We're going with the latter. Superfluid I am. Yeah, Tony, I love you, but that you made that a few minutes ago. I'm not traipsing back. Number one, I'm not traipsing back in the chat. Number two, Bev? No. But thanks for the super chat, Tony. I'm sure you understand. Please continue, Nathan.
There's an example in terms of confidence. So in the last few shows, we've been talking about people's confidence, and the example came up with Rumpus talking about sextants back in 2015. He would state, let's just rephrase that, he would lie with confidence and state that sextants only work on a globe. And that statement with overt confidence puts a lot of flat earthers off even looking at sextants. It's a lie. But it was stated with such confidence that it had an effect on me as an individual and many others who heard it at the time. 8 years later, we're looking at sextant. Now, I'm not suggesting for 1 second that Rumpus's words directly affected how long it took us to look at sextants, but I'm just saying his confidence gave off an air, a persona to the people listening that just let them know that that was a fact. And it wasn't, it was a lie. Now, the fact, this is why I've used Rumpus as a parallel, is as follows. Sextants only work on a flat earth. Full stop, end of statement, no need to even mention the globe. My manifesto, whatever it was, what was it you said?
Mandate.
The word already. Mandate. There we go. It's not a manifesto. My mandate is to say we should be moving forward on the front foot now. In here, I am about 10 years, it might be 9, whatever. And moving forward, we no longer need to concern ourselves with furthering our understanding of the heliocentric model and how it doesn't work. Like, we don't even look at how NASA doesn't work anymore. We've essentially turned our backs on them. Before anybody pipes up and says, yes, we still occasionally pull from them as a hostile witness. Yeah, we do. What I mean is we're not involved in rapping on the door of NASA saying, look, this doesn't work. That's fake. This is where they're showing you green screens. This is how they've dropped something in a claim to be 0G. We don't even care on Flat Earth debate anymore. Nobody cares about NASA. We have effectively turned our backs on them. And in some ways, so society, that's more and more of society questioning things like the moon landings, not necessarily space, as a result of the unequivocal debunking of space. Kind of gas pressure without a container. The sky's not a vacuum. Once that kicks in, that's it. There's no more space to concern yourself with. So we're not going out of our way to learn more about space. Up until 2023, that's what flat earthers have done. We need to learn more about orbits. We need to learn more about gravity. Why? We need to learn more. Best example, we need to learn more about the horizon. I don't want anybody to take this as though I'm knocking the Black Swan. It is the best globe debunking there is. None. I'm not knocking that when I say we should turn our backs on debunking the globe. No. You still will come across zealots and need to debate them. You'll find all that information out here and on Flat Earth Debate. But for an attitude adjustment for us as flat earthers, we should, and many of us don't, know Earth is flat now. That's how it's measured. With that as an attitude, you can move forward into the coming years and be less stressed, less concerned about what you don't know about how the globe doesn't work. But no, Earth is measured flat. Now, if you must concern yourself with how the globe doesn't work, know this, and this, whatever the word was.
Mandate.
Go on again. Mandate. Just my outpourings to make me less stressed. I just don't want to be as annoyed with my peers. Please start telling people Earth's flat. That's how we measure it. And so do the globe. That's what we've been discussing on Flat Earth Debate for the last 6 months. Now, this started, I'm going to get accused of favouritism again, by refracted curvature. Started off too ambitious and in his understanding when he tried to disseminate this to us by saying, they will come to you with an argument that is, I use a flat earth and measure a flat earth and then use those flat earth measurements to show you how Earth's a globe. And you, the flat earther, will offer me up some crappy flat earth proof that I can easily debunk. Therefore, I win. Earth's a globe with my flat earth measurement I took. That's how, not exactly, but that's how John put it to us about 6 months ago. Way over my head back then. 6 months later, I finally get it. And that is also, again, we're getting accused of favouritism, summed up in a quote by Refracted Curvature. Quote, you guys need a flat plane more than we do. End quote, Refracted Curvature. Because what does that mean? Every measurement that they will ever offer to infer that Earth is a sphere started with the already in place and had been for centuries measurements of a flat Earth. That's what they had to use. Turn it into a sphere. The measurements of Earth being flat. A2, start with that. So to round up, if you feel the need to argue with zealots still on a ball, because, as Whitsitt put it, my friends and family are still on a ball, well, fine, you can either know Earth's flat and just leave them to it, let them have their beliefs, you don't have to debate with them and fall out with them, but if you must, they need to measure a flat Earth too. And if you can find agreement in your debate with where they too know it's, well, just so biggy it's flatty, for example, and focus on the it's flatty and I know it as a glober, that's how we measure it bit, because then you will find much more success on the front foot, asserting in a positive manner, without stress of not knowing enough about the globe, that Earth factually is, because it is, measured flat, and they know it. So we get the mitigation of so big it's flat. You know it's measured flat too then. I'm not too concerned about anything beyond that you mitigate beyond the actual measurement, because that's the be all and end all of what is when it comes to what the world is. You've described and I have described us together measuring Earth flat. Care about your belief. I'm 10 years beyond that. I couldn't care less. Space is fake. The Earth's not a sphere. The horizon's not Earth curve. It is measured flat though, and that's far more effective telling me I can mitigate for how flat I see the world when I tell you it's a sphere, which is what they've got. Don't worry about what they've got. They measure it flat too. Know it as a flat earther. I'm done.
Very good. It's very well said. Very well articulated. I like that direction. But you have to be confident. You have to get out of the belief realm. If you just believe the Earth is flat, people, by now, if you're new, understand. I can understand that. I got it. But let me put a number on it. If you've been out here for 3 years and longer and you just believe the earth is flat, you got big problems. You're hanging around with the wrong crew. Because, like you said,
that is where.
Go ahead.
Sorry. That is where somebody in the Earth Awakening said channel, I think it was Stacey, was like, and obviously you want to make a living from this, don't you? In other words, she positioned it such that this mandate would be the benefit of my income. And immediately I was like, no, that isn't my primary motivation. I exclaimed that immediately. It's because I'm stressed out with the people around me. They're not effective enough at what they do. Well, we've been doing this to make the audience more effective at debating, and we have been setting them along the road that we're already on, which is to debunk the globe. And again, I will reiterate that I'm not trying to decry any of the fantastic work that's been done by greater minds than myself when it comes to unpacking an indoctrinated religion. And I praise those like Whitsit, because it's contentious, who also do the same and have an exemplary understanding. I'm not decrying that, and it is required. The Whitsits of the world who do know how to undo the globe are still absolutely fundamental to this progression of flat Earth. But for the guy who just comes here, like I was 10 years ago, just wants to know, is it really flat? We need to start telling people that straight away. Yeah, it is. That's how it's measured. A few examples. Check out how navigation made all the maps. Check out how the territory was developed. Check out how the grid system works with Polaris. They're all flat and must be. And it's not like flat but could be working on a sphere. Flat and can only work flat. Look how they build stuff. How the rail network, as is an example from Earth Awakenings, one of the early things that I looked into, or earliest things I looked into to find some proof of Earth being built on flat, which it is. Find some agreement, and that will, segueing too away from my original point here, that will alleviate my stress when I hear others.
Their radius is a calculation, a back calculation based off of two-dimensional flat Earth elevation angles to Polaris. That's what it's based off of. It's just they just took those measurements that gave us the latitude and longitude grid, which is a two-dimensional grid, and they made all the south ends of those longitude lines beat, and just turned it into a sphere, and then got the radius from that.
See, I'm proposing that, I knew as soon as you said they, we're stacking this up in dichotomy against an opponent. Who are they in this context from Brian just now? Perfect. I'm sorry, I'm going to have to pick on you, Brian. I'm really sorry. Right, they are the globers. They're our opponents. And
well, they are the people who took actual measurements of the real world we live in.
Just recontextualize what you've said to say we took measurements of Earth flat to give us the grid system, and you're going to then expand that story into how it turned into a globe. And I'm saying, why add that? We took measurements and they were flat, weren't they, Brian? End of statement.
No, it's not the end of statement. I'm sorry, Nathan. No, that's not the end of statement. This is where this falls apart for me, because I don't know why this is a revelation for you these days, but this has been my world for 9 years. There's nothing, when people at Rumpus said the sextant only works on a globe, that meant absolutely nothing to me because I knew it wasn't a globe. I've known it's flat for 9 years. So
you're the exception.
I'm sorry now. Okay, I'm sorry now, but I can't. No, I must show that their radius is not a measurement. And that's how I show it. I'm able to give all the details of how their radius is not a measurement. And the only measurements they have are flat, plane measurements. So I'm sorry, I can't just say to someone, oh, we measured it this way, and that's it. If I'm in a situation where I'm trying to show someone that it's flat and not a globe, I can't just do that. Now, what conversation am I going to be in where I'm going to just be detailing to someone about how they measure just the latitude and longitude grid? Well, what conversation would I be in where that'll happen?
I'm not being unrealistic to suggest that just by moving forward on the front foot with flat Earth being measured, you did, but in so doing, you've then moved on to juxtapositions with a globe. I'm saying that that's fine, so long as the first statement is that Earth's measured flat, and it already is. I'm being hyper pedantic about how it gets put across to the audience right here, right now. I'm not unrealistic, Brian. I appreciate, and that's what Witsit was trying to put to me. Well, I can't reprogram my way of thinking to not juxtapose it with a globe. I'm always going to be juxtaposing it with a globe because that's who I'm going to be putting it to. I say, I understand. It doesn't alter the fact that when entering this discussion, front foot could be that Earth is measured flat. And I don't think you would disagree with that, Brian, because that's how you just prefaced that statement. But you started it with they as opposed to we.
Well, see, the thing is, I could show someone how they measured the distance from the GP of Polaris to the equator, and how they measured how they eventually came up with the latitude and longitude grid. And if I don't mention the word flat Earth, they're just going to go, yeah. But as soon as I say it's measured flat, then they're going to go, no, it's a globe, and that's the problem. I can't mention the term flat without it getting a pushback. And I need, you know what I mean? So
let me just try once more. You just missed what I said.
show someone the measurements and they'll accept them.
I got it the first time. Let me just push back against it. It's just the one word. When you said they, what you're describing is an opponent who I immediately knew that you were going to contextualize that particular they as our globe-making opponents. And I was correct. Now, I don't know if I interrupted at that stage or not, but as soon as you said they, who's they? Our globe-believing opponents who are making a globe in this example. But the way you started the example was on the front foot to say, we're measuring Earth flat as the first part of the example. Incorporated into that front-footed start was they, an opponent who are going to make a globe in the example. Don't get me wrong, if you were to start and say, well, we, because it is we, the royal we they use when we've been to space, Brian. I'm saying have the confidence to say that's, no, we've measured Earth flat, we still do. It's not they are doing it back then, we did it back then and we still do it now. We measured Earth flat, it's an attitude adjustment. Now if you say we measured Earth flat and we got a radial value from it, they then took the flat Earth measurement, and that type of juxtaposition has already started on the front foot, and it's only a minor adjustment. You see how subtle it is?
Yeah, but I think you've missed I think you've kind of, from what I just said a minute ago, I think you've misunderstood that a little bit. Correct me if I'm wrong, but if I'm talking to someone, just a random person, and we somehow get into how the latitude and longitude grid was measured, that conversation comes up, and I can show them what an elevation angle is and detail what an elevation angle is. I can detail how they learned let's say what Earth distance there was for 1 degree of angular change to Polaris, blah blah blah. And I don't mention the term flat, then they'll just accept whatever I say because it's just a normal conversation. But if I start adding in the term flat, suddenly they'll want to brace against it because they've been taught their whole life that it's a globe. Now, the proof of that is that if you look at celestial navigators and surveyors and people who work in aerospace, like pilots and stuff like that, they all go, oh, it's a globe, yet they're only dealing with a flat plane all their life. But yet they'll tell you it's a globe, that surveyors never measured it, pilots never accounted for it, celestial navigators have never accounted for it. Do you know what I mean? But yet they'll tell you it's a globe. So as soon as you use the term flat, if I say it's measured flat, the person's going to start bracing against it because of the indoctrination that we're dealing with, and we have been dealing with.
Yeah, and?
Yeah, so as soon as I say that, I am getting into the wrangled angle of a debate situation with somebody.
Yeah. But okay, perfect. So at that stage, what you're saying is there's going to be a point where, in your scenario, all you've done, I did this. This scenario happened. Me, my brother-in-law, my wife, and myself, and my sister. We're all in a room. And all I'm doing is detailing how celestial navigation works. I've got a rug that's got a Mercator projection on it, and I'm drawing circles on it and showing how it works. Nothing's contentious, right? Because there can only be agreement. That's how it's done. Now, at the point that I suggested that that's because it's flat Earth and we're proving flat Earth with it, it becomes contentious because I'm challenging their belief. Now, in the scenario that I've just given you, it did happen. That's precisely how it went, and immediately tempers flare, right? But in spite of the tempers flaring and a pushback coming, it didn't alter what was just agreed upon. Earth was measured flat. I never changed or altered, and it was my starting point. It wasn't. I'm massaging what actually happened in that scenario now, but it doesn't matter. It's for example, right? My starting point was just going through as you did in your example. And we measure Earth flat. The fact that flared tempers happened when there's a realization from an opponent who's a globe believer that doesn't comport with their current belief in a globe that's not curving in this example. That could cause tempers to flare. Yeah, it will. But you've already established Earth's measured flat, haven't you?
No, I agree. Look, I have my own exact example to match that. My mother's partner, he's a retired geodetic surveyor, and I've spoken with him many times about surveying, and I've gone through all of it because he started surveying. He was doing surveying before GPS and stuff came into it, so he's one of the old time surveyors who did everything himself, if you know what I mean. And I can talk about surveying all day long with that man. But now he knows that I'm a flat earther, but I never bring it up. But as soon as if I point out to him, he's measuring everything off of a horizontal baseline, that being mean sea level. You know what I mean? He's measuring just elevations based off of a horizontal baseline throughout the whole world. If I start going down that road with him, it's going to be an argument straight away. He's going to start telling me that, no, it's a globe, we know it's a globe, yet he has never ever measured curvature. As in, the curvature, he's measured slope rates, different things, the rise of run, but he's never measured 8 inches per mile square as the consistency. That never happened. Do you know what I mean? So as soon as you can, this is my point, I can talk to someone who's a professional in a discipline, and we can talk about the actual thing, and they'll be telling me, well, I'm telling them about how it's all measured in such a way that the Earth can only be described as a flat plane, right? But as soon as you bring up the term flat, straight away they're fighting for the globe. It's this switch that goes on, and they want to fight with you.
I got that.
Yeah.
Okay, I got that. Okay, so what you're saying is that when you're discussing with surveyors, you said, you just phrased it, but something like the Earth is dealt with flat or something like that. Or was it you just phrased it a second ago?
The Earth can only be described as a flat plane.
It's described as a flat plane. There we go. Perfect. When you're discussing it with the surveyor and you're describing Earth as a flat plane, that's what Whitsitt said yesterday or 2 days ago. And I was like, no. There's a big distinction between measuring Earth as a flat plane, which you could and would and will and couldn't only get agreement from them for. Correct, Brian? Prior to any contention. That's what they're doing, right?
Yeah, once I don't bring up the fact that they're using a flat plane all the time. Yeah.
But they are.
Yeah, and they'll tell you all about it till you point it out.
Stop. You're about to agree with me, and that's my point that I'm trying to stress to you while you object. That's fine, but I'm just saying there's a point that up until this stage where you say, well, there's going to be a point that they get contentious with me because they're on a ball. Yeah. But up until that point, on the front foot, you've been getting agreement that Earth is, by them, you might not even know at this point, are globers, but from them, that it is factually being measured flat. Correct?
Yeah, that's exactly it.
Yes. Just stop. Okay, that's all I'm asking for, right? Now, for a skilled debater, that's going to be a push to readjust after this amount of time, to wire your brain to say, all I'm going to do with someone who I know is going to be debating with me for the globe is seek their agreement in terms of something that they're going to know I'm going to be getting agreement that it's measured flat, so they're going to avoid it like the frigging plague. Yeah, okay. I get that there's going to be exceptions to this, and I know that we're going to end up debating. Don't assume I'm just a dumbo that doesn't realise people are going to still think they're on a globe. I know. I'm just saying the attitude readjustment is to, in this specialist circumstance with a surveyor, seek their agreement where there is no contention, where they are factually measuring Earth flat. Because if that was a discussion in debate and it went in this ideal world where they went, yeah, well, of course I know I'm measuring it flat in this instance. And yes, that is correct. That is a flat measurement. Yeah, that's going to be far more difficult in debate. But that attitude starts on the front foot with we, not they, measured Earth or treated Earth or dealt with Earth as flat. We, collectively, all of us, measured Earth flat. That's our starting point. But when the contention comes, we've already established that we measure Earth flat. That's it. It's not a big adjustment.
No, look, it's so ridiculous, right? My mother's partner is a good guy, right? And I get along with him, right? But it's so ridiculous that he told me that why are you not a surveyor? He said, you're a naturalist. You know what? You totally understand it inside out. He said, how come you never went off and became a surveyor? He said, you should have been a surveyor. I said, I don't want to be a surveyor. I said, I just wanted to understand the topic. But that's because I was able to detail to him exactly what was going on in surveying, and he agreed to every bit of it. And he was telling me I should have been a surveyor. And he was genuine about it. And he said it to me more than one time. He said this to me. But if I said to him, you're measuring everything off of horizontal baseline, that being mean sea level, all your elevation changes are all based off of that mean sea level. Do you know what I mean? All your horizontals are parallel. All your verticals are parallel. It's flat. That'll be that. There'll be no complements. Do you know what I mean? There'll be argument. And that's the problem we have. People.
Okay, well, let's take the contention out of it.
Look at Wolfie with his Coriolis button in his plane. Something
before we go on to just one sec, Brian. Before we go on to Coriolis, because it's not flat Earth measurement. I just want to stick to one thing, just while we're debating it, you and I, if that's okay with QE. Are we all good, QE?
We're good.
Okay, let's take the contention out of it just for a second, right? We spoke with Rakia Life the other day. Let's imagine a circumstance where, as a flat earther on a very well-known flat Earth channel, so it's me doing me, I interview Dave Rakia Life. Now, last time we spoke, literally a couple of days ago, I could hear him doing his building. It was work scrape. I could hear concrete being scraped or bricks being scraped, whatever it was, scraping. That's obvious building sounds. And he spoke educatedly about what he does for a living. And he described rise over run, which is something you go through quite frequently, Brian. Now, imagine a world where I say, hey, Rakia, do you fancy doing a quick interview with me? I want to just go through some basics about what you do. And I want you to describe rise over run for us so the audience can listen and understand how Earth's being measured flat. During the interview, which let's say it takes 15 minutes, I discuss what he does. And in his, let's hope he wasn't actually on the building site while he did this, because it was horrendous last time. But it's good because it cemented it in my mind, no pun intended. Right? If we were having that discussion, he would go through all of the bits I'm saying you move forward on the front foot with. That is to say, he describes how he measures Earth flat, goes through what he does in his day-to-day affairs, and how that proves Earth is measured flat. Because what he's doing is measuring Earth flat. And it is just that. That would be the beginning, middle, and end of the conversation. That is to say, at no point does Dave Rakia or me say, and therefore therefore globe Earth's fake. Dropped in Scientology intention. Will make sense in this. So, not pointing out how what he does when he actually measures Earth flat, as he does, isn't not measuring a sphere. He doesn't need to do that in a discussion with me if I were to interview Rakia. He just tells me how he measures Earth flat, and at the end I thank him for his time, and then that's the end of the discussion. Now, if that was a discussion with you and a surveyor that potentially could get contentious, because it's not in that scenario like with Dave Rakia, a friendly, a flat earther, who's just telling me what he does, measure Earth flat. Well, when you've got the same agreement as I suggested earlier with your surveyors, at the point it becomes contentious, if it was that show rather than me and Dave, the audience has already heard how both sides agree Earth's measured flat. And it becomes contentious because, why? Because they have raised their ball faith. That's where the contention began. As opposed to, you're wrong, you're not open-minded enough, this is how you're wrong, and how you, not we, you took flat earth measurements to make your ball that I'm showing you is wrong. By adjustment. We measured earth flat. Here's how we measured earth flat. This is what we did when we measured earth flat. What's that you say? Oh, Biggie, it's flatty. See where I'm going, Brian? That's an ideal. It's a very idealistic circumstance. We're only 6 days into the new year of 2024. This is new to everybody listening. I don't think a bold move to ask flat earthers to tell people Earth's flat. That's all I'm asking.
Yeah, I understand. I understand what you're saying, but the point still remains that as soon as you can have a conversation with any professional, you can go to pilot school, you can go to surveying, you can go to celestial navigation, and they'll all be detailing how they're referencing a horizontal plane, right? Throughout the whole world, one big massive horizontal plane will be referenced by them. Celestial navigation will be using only a horizontal plane because it's two-dimensional measurement. 1 second. Sorry. Pilots will be basically referencing a two-dimensional situation too, because they're not dealing with elevation changes because they're up so high in altitude. Surveying will be dealing with elevation changes, but they'll still be addressing and referencing mean sea level as a horizontal baseline for all these above and below elevations to be referenced to, right? That's their benchmark, is the horizontal baseline. So, but as soon as you tell them, so Earth's flat then, they are going to attack you because they were taught differently, and it doesn't matter what they do themselves in the real world, it doesn't matter because they were taught differently. They have an emotional attachment to something that they won't be letting go of. So you can get them to tell you all day about how big the horizontal baseline is that they are constantly referencing. You know, about how much the Earth is a flat plane. But it doesn't matter because as soon as you point that out, you're not in a debate then about geometry or physics at that point. You're in a debate with someone who's trying to fight for a belief. You know, they're trying to fight for a belief that they grew up with, and they're defending
perfect.
that.
Can I step in there? That's perfect. What you're saying is, at that point, once you've both established Earth's flat and we're both in agreement that Earth's flat, the surveyor knows it's flat, they've measured it flat, but they've got to interject with their belief, that becomes the point of contention. Now, as QE summarised earlier, in 3 years plus into this discussion, you should know Earth's measured flat. Well, in this discussion or hypothetical discussion and how it's progressed, one party, in fact both, because it's a necessity, have described how Earth is measured flat, without contention. But at the point, hypothetically, that you say, well, Earth's flat then, you've essentially injected into the conversation a request for them to renounce their globe faith that has suddenly become prevalent in their mind because you've brought it to the front of their mind by telling them Earth is flat. You are then the one that's intentionally provoked contention by basically asking them to renounce their globe faith at that point, indirectly, subtly. That's your. If you want the contention, you're saying at the point that I asked them to recognise that means Earth is flat. Well, you are looking for contention, fine, if that's what you're trying to achieve. But you've already won, and all they'll do, based on the contention you raised, is put forth their contentious globe belief. Now, the reason I brought QE into this is because moving forward into 2024, part of my manifesto, sentiment, whatever you want to call it,
mandate,
to say that we should have the
mandate.
My mandate is to say we should know Earth's flat by now. You should relinquish this flat Earth belief that many of us still in 2024 do hold. And when that's the case, and this permeates through our community, and people start knowing Earth's flat because it's measured flat, and there's going to be plenty of agreement to be sought out from our opponents in that regard if they're seeking out tension from opponents. So long as it starts to permeate through our community that the people who come here know it's flat because they've heard that first and foremost, because we have had an attitude adjustment where we're always starting on the front foot by talking about our Earth's measured flat, like we are at the moment, The predominance of this conversation has been about Earth being measured flat, as opposed to how it isn't measured spherically. And I'm saying that's how it should progress. When the contention comes up, it should be because of belief from our opponent, rather than defended from belief from a flat earther, which is why, as I started out saying, the people around me piss me off. Most of them are talking about their beliefs. A lot of it conspiratard nonsense that isn't even related to flat Earth. If we were talking about what we know and showing how what Earth is and how it is measured and how we collectively all measure it that way, then we're on the front foot, and all we're coming up against in terms of contention is a belief. Not our belief, which is how it's been to date. It's maybe twofold. Manifest. Whatever. Twofold. No Earth's flat. Tell people Earth's flat. That's it. No Earth's flat. Tell them it's flat. That's it. There's two things.
Well, the problem we have is that we've got to find out whether knowledge, which is knowing, or belief is stronger. Which one is stronger? And that's the thing. Belief may be stronger than knowledge. So you can show someone all day long that what they're doing is not measuring a sphere. You know, they're doing the opposite from measuring a sphere and referencing a sphere. But if they believe they're on a sphere, that's the problem. So it's knowledge versus belief, which one is stronger.
Cringe. No, I don't want to tell them how they're not measuring a sphere. I just, rather than telling them what they're not doing because they're a sphere believer and they're not adhering to their sphere belief that they're wrong about because they're not measuring a sphere, I'm saying they are measuring Earth flat. So tell them how Earth's measuring flat. And if you're saying, well, it won't drive contention until I tell them, well, you're on a flat Earth then. You're on a globe. No, maybe it won't drive contention. That's good. If at the end of the conversation, nobody's disagreed and everyone goes, all right, that's the end of the conversation. Yeah, we all agreed. Let's go, bye. And they go, hold on, we didn't debate about the globe. No, we just all agreed Earth was measured flat, but at no point did I invite you to renounce your globe faith by saying, Earth's flat then. Because I didn't summarise, there was no contention. There was just a glober and a flat earther talking about Earth's measured flat for half an hour. And then at the end, everybody thanked each other and there was no contention. Only because at no point did they even realise that meant that they were renouncing their globe faith automatically because they were measuring it flat. And I didn't have to point it out because it meant I didn't have to raise the contention that started an argument that meant they had to express their globe faith. All because we all just agreed for half an hour that Earth actually was being measured flat by both parties.
Yeah, but look at this. Let's make a comparison. Look at Dave Rakia and look at someone like Blue Marble Science. Now, Blue Marble Science was an engineer of some kind, and Dave Rakia is an engineer of some form or something similar. So the both of them would be referencing the same. If they're doing measurements of the Earth and using the Earth in any way, there'll be elevations, anything like that. They'll be referencing mean sea level, right? And that'll be a horizontal baseline through the Earth for these elevations and for these measurements. But one of them has a belief that it's a globe, and he's not letting it go. And that's the problem. The problem is, which is stronger, knowledge or belief? Which is stronger? And that's the problem.
Knowledge.
We're in a position where, I don't know, belief. People can believe they can jump over moving cars, and they've never jumped over a gate before, and they do jump over a moving car because they believed they could. People can do all kinds of things when they believe it.
I'll concede, if you'll concede that there is nothing I can do about zealotry. In other words, the former fork in the road where you've got a choice, you recognise you've measured it flat, you've just described it measured flat, you've conceded it's measured flat. You can either become an anti-flat earther because you've got a belief in a globe and you're going to brace against some heliocentric belief that stops that being the case when a heliocentric belief requires you measure Earth flat. Then you're going to become a globe zealot. Like that fork in the road, Brian, I can't do much about that. If someone's going to exercise their belief, regardless, and that's going to be obvious to anybody who's watching, an onlooker will recognise the point of contention being a globe faith when everybody's just described how they've measured it flat.
Look, why is it you want me to concede to you again before I concede to it?
The positioning changes. You're laughing. I find this very contentious. Your positioning is to tell me how it's not measured globe-shaped. and how they measured it flat to get their globe extrapolation. Those two phraseologies start with a juxtaposition for a cult we've left. It's me saying, this is how a volcano works, and the Thetans couldn't possibly survive inside. This is how a globe works, and therefore Zeno couldn't possibly have existed. This is how a volcano doesn't work with the Scientology rhetoric. That shouldn't be a starting point. This is how a volcano works. I am currently chatting with a Scientologist and telling him how a volcano works, and he's agreeing. Why? Because coincidentally, he works with volcanoes, and that is how a volcano works. Oh, at the end, I've got a choice. Do I tell him, therefore Xenu's not real then? Or do I go, thank you for coming, now we all know how a volcano works. No mention of Thetans was necessary. Your positioning is, this is how it don't work with Thetans. No. This is how
that's not my
measured
position
flat.
at all. That's not about just because I used it. Just because I said what you're point out to someone, they're not measuring a sphere, or they're not referencing a sphere. That's not my. I just said that one thing. I just threw that in there one time, and that's what you latched onto.
Yeah, because it makes my example. I'm not suggesting that you do that by default. Suddenly, this one specific, hyper-specific example defines what Brian's logic is and how you debate. It's just something I've picked on because it's there to pick on, and it makes my example. Your example exemplifies an attitude that juxtaposes an old faith you've left with the reality of how it's measured. And I am suggesting that at least, because we obviously are going to face zealots, at least initially move forward with the positive assertion of how Earth is dealt with, because Earth is measured flat. And if your attitude is to immediately affirm that which you know to be true, an onlooker automatically knows it, and an opponent is automatically agreeing with it. It's just a subtle difference to starting with how globe doesn't work rather than how flat Earth is measured. That's it.
I concede that you can't stop zealotry, because that's what you asked me to concede to. Yeah, you're not. Yeah, I concede to that. But that's the problem. You didn't address. I'm not going to go on about it now because I don't want to take up too much of the show. But you need to just have a ponder about it, have a think about it. What is stronger, belief or knowledge? Have a think about that, because that's what we're dealing with, really. We're trying to show people what it really is, but people have a belief of what it is. And it's a fight between knowledge and belief. That's how I view it.
Okay, well, to round out as a final comment then, or to get the last word, measurement trumps belief. You know, it doesn't matter what someone believes if I've demonstrated and sought agreement that it is being measured. You know, once you've got a measurement of it, you know, you want to say, well, I believe it's so big it is flatty. Okay? Much I can do about that. We have just measured it flat, though.
I agree. I agree to come out with, you know, the positive foot forward with knowledge that you know for an absolute fact and can show or demonstrate that the Earth is flat. We have those tools now. We know it, right? I agree that that's a good way to come at it.
Brian does. That's the last point, just to affirm Brian's position, because Brian can take the assertion from the opponent in the automatic, I'm going to be debating this anyway, because he's been here, number one, for a long time, and number two, Brian knows Earth's flat already.
Yep.
To have the contentious discussion with absolute confidence is a breeze for Brian, because he's not worried about whether or not Earth is flat. Right. We can get into these discussions and win, knowing their positions and starting that ball rolling in the juxtaposition that I'm trying to get other people not to do. And it isn't for Brian that I'm saying this, it's for the new guy who comes, and I look back on me and go, if I'd have just found out immediately that Earth was measured flat and knew it straight away,
yes,
I might not have been too concerned about debating the globers and what might happen if somebody comes up to me and says they know it's a globe. I might just get on with my life knowing it's measured flat, and when someone starts talking about a globe, I don't even react. I'm not going to try and take your faith away from you, but I know differently. I'm not so bold as to want to take away your religious belief. I know the contentious part of me telling you that means it's not a ball if we've just talked about how something's measured flat. You know, at the end of it, if they don't recognise that isn't a ball that they've just talked about, I don't have to point it out to them. It will just cause contention. But I still know it's measured flat. And were I to be challenged about it, I go, well, I'm sorry, I'm not an advanced heliocentric. I don't know enough about your religion to argue the toss about how your tangent works in space. What I do know is that this particular example, and they present it, is Earth being measured flat. And that, you know, that's what I stand by, and you know, I'm confident with that, and I don't really need any discussion. I don't need reconverting back on a ball. I'm not going to come back to your ball. I'm sorry. I don't want this debate. I'm doing something else. I'm programming my game. Whatever. You know, I'm not here to debate about your religion. Might be their attitude, because they don't see the necessity. They'd only never not see the necessity to debate about it if they definitely knew it was measured flat straight away. And we don't have that. We're not putting that out there currently. That's not the vibe here in Flat Earth.
Well, I don't know if I should add this in or not, because I don't want to keep it going too long.
Yes, probably. You probably shouldn't then.
Well, I won't then. I won't then.
No, go ahead, Adam.
Take up this.
No, don't do that, QE. Please
no,
do.
I didn't. I said go ahead at it.
Yeah, he did. He said go ahead. QE gave me the go ahead. We have an opposition in this arena that is not the opposition we're supposed to have. They are supposed to be on our own side. And they're offering people belief. And they're getting a lot more followers and a lot more viewers than we are. Now, we might be getting more suppressed from YouTube and Google or whatever, but these people are not getting suppressed because they're offering belief. And my point being is that belief is winning all the time. How many people just believe that there is a creator? They don't know. They just believe. Because belief is easy. Just have a little think about that. It might be a battle we can never win. Because
that's a battle with this taking on, though, isn't it? I'm trying to say to people in the flat Earth community, stop believing Earth's flat, because it isn't a belief. It's a fact. It's measured that way. So if we can take that step first with our attitude moving forward, hopefully people who come to us, regardless of our experience they are in the subject, will see an attitude of us knowing. You were the one who said you want, I don't know if he was using him with flat Earth Gnostic instead of measured flat Earther. They're both saying the same thing, and it's an attitude. I know it's measured flat. I just want that to be the general message that comes across to people in the first instance. That's all I'm asking for. And beyond that, Gnostic is what we want people to realise we are. We are knowing this, and we are demonstrating this. We are measuring this Earth as flat, and so are you. Let's start there.
Yes, sir. I agree. That's the first step to knowledge. So we're going to have to show them too, right? I know we've done it on your show and my show with different aspects, different topics on how it is absolutely measured, navigated, flat. Maybe we have to put up a couple more presentations with them consolidated. Just a thought.
Yeah, I mean, there's other examples within your flat Earth proofs, like the missile, which are perfect examples of you're not having to describe how it's not working on a sphere when you detail what actually happens with the pencil laser beam targeting something at a great distance and then firing across a plane, hit it. No globe debunking is incorporated in that description of how a flat Earth functionally operates. You know what I mean? There's plenty. In fact, every example will be like that. It's just describing how a flat Earth works. So let's just go forth describing how a flat Earth works. Because that's how flat Earth works, and that's how Earth is.
Yep.
Flat.
I agree. How about some gravity?
How about some gravity, yeah.
If you would. So I shared it with you guys in there.
The Math Powerland video. Oh, yeah, thanks.
Not the Math Powerland video. This. I shared that with you. I had a number of presentations to pick from. I kind of bought like 5 or 6 of them in here. And I said, which one am I going to do? Because there's the 4 or 5 got slight differences, right? So I just said, the heck with it. I just picked, the first one that pops up, today. So we'll go with this one. We'll see how this works out. So, to everyone out there, hopefully everyone stayed. I think everyone did. What's Newton's universal law of gravitation? Please post Newton's equation. Now, I've been doing this for some years now, ever since 2016, especially when you proper venue. And the Baltard brings up Newton's equation. Not only Baltards, just anyone who brings it up. I asked them, I said, please post Newton's equation for everyone to see. Every single time, I got this. Right? Y'all have seen
Can't
this
see what's
before?
on screen.
Say
I
again?
can't actually because you've not shared. I don't think you've shared it in the G++. But I'm assuming what you've put up is Reverend John Michel Cavendish gravity equation.
I've
Correct?
shared it in Discord.
Have you?
Yeah. It says go live and QE live. Just click on that.
I've got it. Sorry, my bad. I'm ruining the show.
Thank you. All right, we're good. So, like I said, I challenge them just to show that they know what they're talking about. So post the equation, and this is what I get. Well, that's not the equation. That's not Newton's universal law of gravitation. That's not in the Principia. Shout out to Adam. He's a bit under the weather. See, that's not Newton's equation in the Principia. This is. There's no G, big G, in Newton's equation. It's just Fg is proportional to m1 over m, or m1 times m2 over distance or radius squared. Right? So that immediately puts them on, like Nathan said, their back foot and shows how ignorant they are because they don't know what they're talking about right out of the gate. So I always like doing that. It's special. I reach self-actualization every single time that somebody says, universal law of gravitation. Okay. All right. Let's see where you stand. Because like I said, the big G part right here was C.V. Boy's little addition. And guess how long that took? That was 207 friggin' years after Newton. That's not a small time span, right? The big G, Newton's universal law of gravitation, was published in the Principia July 5th, 1687. This was the equation like I just showed you. You see big G in there, pretender clowns? No, you don't. Number 2, Cavendish didn't conduct his non-experiment, which should be known as the Reverend John Michel Cavendish non-experiment. We'll get to that down below here in a second. Until 1798. That's 111 years after the publication of Newton's Principia and 71 years after Newton's death. This is one of my favorite ones. Number 3, Cavendish didn't calculate a numerical value for G. How many times have you heard a spinning space monkey say that Cavendish was the one that calculated the value for big G? It's countless. They still do it. Even after I've been giving this presentation for years, they still do it. Of course, this link doesn't exist anymore, but that's okay. I got the way back machine. Go through this. This is from Laurent Hodges, Department of Physics and Astronomy, Iowa State University. They even put John Michel's name first. The Michel Cavendish experiment. It's not an experiment, but I digress. Let's have a little read through here. The Cavendish apparatus for determining the gravitational constant has always seemed to me, and surely to many other physics teachers, to be one of the jewels of physics, a marvel of simplicity and beauty. I never fail to show it to my students when we are learning about gravitation. Our textbooks generally credit Henry Cavendish, 1731 to 1810, with having been the first scientist to determine the value of the G. I like that. The value of the G. That's pretty good. I like that. I digress. However, this experiment, that wasn't an experiment, is often referred to as having weighed the Earth because from the knowledge of R, the Earth's radius, and the gravitational field strength, little g, at the surface of the Earth, it is possible to determine the mass, m, of the Earth. Recently, as I was preparing notes on the gravitational interaction for an introductory calculus level physics course at Iowa State University, I became curious as to how Cavendish expressed his results. Did he give a numerical value for G or for M? How accurate was his value? And in what units did he express his result? Not finding an answer to these questions in any of the textbooks that I checked, I decided to read Cavendish's original paper in the Philosophical Transactions for 1798, a copy of which resides in our library. I recommend reading famous original papers because they always seem to contain unexpected surprises. It is a pleasure to read Balmer's paper on his formula for the spectral lines of hydrogen and encounter his glowing encomium. Nice word, encomium. For Avogadro's experimental techniques. The fact that a simple formula fit the data to better than 1 part in 40,000 suggested to Balmer that Avogadro's precision must have been better than 1 part in 40,000, and this impressed him greatly. On the other hand, Thomson's 1897 paper on the discovery of the electron contains dozens and dozens of numbers, but no units. Sometimes most of us would never let our students get away with. This is the really important part. Cavendish's paper did not disappoint me in this respect. There were 3 major surprises awaiting me. Number 1, with the big red circle. First, Cavendish did not determine either big G or M. He determined the average density of the Earth, which he expressed as what? Specific gravity, or a ratio of the Earth's density to the density of water. I'll end it up there. I thought you might like to hear that and enjoy it as much as I did. Any comment on this little peccadillo right here?
What's the word?
Encomium?
New word. Yeah, what's that mean?
I have no idea. I've only encountered that word in this paper. I've never seen that word.
I've never heard it before either.
Is that all you're getting from this? Didn't you like this up here?
Say,
All right.
say again.
One more.
What word? What word?
Encomium.
Encomium.
Whatever.
Hey, that Darth used that word.
Did he?
In his, yeah.
Huh.
Remember, it was the name of one
Okay.
of the guys there.
Oh yeah, it was. Who was it that he gave that name to?
Don't know.
It was like the ranty character or something.
Could have been. I'll have to go back and have a look. I'd love to know what the word means. I'll have to look it up.
All right. So because
Sorry,
from
I know you want something gravity related. I mean, I said it at the beginning before I picked up on your live stream, which is to say, you made the point initially, and they don't know what their gravity is. And before we even get to pseudo four space-time bending, you've got a CV Boys insertion, and they don't know that. You said you reach. I can't remember the word you used, and I don't want it to sound filthy if I rephrase it. But you are very pleased when someone says that they know this equation, the universal law.
Yes.
And they boost it, and they're big G in it. Right?
Yep. I reach self-actualization.
Self-actualization, right? Yeah, because it admirably demonstrates their lack of understanding of something, and their misapprehension immediately. And they also, Dunning-Kruger, think that they know better.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So they're going to say, I know this. I've got a string of letters with an equation.
Yeah.
I can post it immediately and make myself really smart.
Yeah.
And you go, oh, great. Let's see that equation. What's this? What's this big G? Big G loved me a long time.
Yeah, aren't all supposed gravity equations always having gravity within it every time? It's like, oh yeah, so it's like, oh, this is supposed to prove gravity, but gravity is in it, though.
Sure.
In the setup that's supposedly proving it. So
Sure. Yeah.
It's not proved, it's presupposed. That's all they ever do.
Yes. Yes.
One of
both Newtonian and Einsteinian. Yes.
One of my favorite parts is this little line right here. I don't know if you could see my mouse. I'll go ahead and read it. However, his non-experiment, is often referred to as having weighed the Earth because from the knowledge of R, the Earth's radius, and the gravitational field strength little g at the surface of the Earth, it is possible to determine the mass m of the Earth. So I like this part. I put a red line under it because of their knowledge of R. You gotta love that. Don't you?
Yeah, they gotta have R, of course. It's the other presupposition.
Yeah, because they don't know this. That's the whole point. It's not there's many points in here, but that's one of the elephants in the room. Thought I'd redline it for you. But the other part was they go around saying, that Cavendish did measure Big G. I don't know how many times I've heard that. It's in the high hundreds. Tell you that much.
Yeah, but that's always the thing
Oh,
they
sorry
keep
about that.
repeating when they start back from the beginning. They always say that again.
So we're just on number 3. Number 4, the modern notation involving the constant G wasn't introduced, like I said, until 1894 by C.V. Boyes. So the bastardization of Newton's debunked law and Big G didn't make its appearance until 207 friggin' years after the Principia was published. So wait for it. It's not Newton's law. He's going to tell you himself. Here, most Ricky Tick. Moreover, the booger eaters, that's you, Baltards, ascribe gravity to Newton. Did you notice, Nathan, that Laurent Hodges, a high member of academia, is also a Newtonian believer? Did you catch that?
No, I don't think I did.
Yes, Laurent Hodges, they're not talking about Einstein's relativity there. They're talking about Cavendish and the physics courses. That's the special cases that I was speaking about before.
But you're citing them in a presentation about Newtonian / C.V. Boyes, Reverend John Michel Cavendish, gravity. Of course they are. Well, duh. But you're pointing out that they're talking about it, and the reason you're pointing it out is because they too, by you having them have them as a reference, aren't talking about pseudo-bent force space-time Einsteinian gravity by default. They're obviously Newtonian, well, Cavendish. so let's get this straight, because that's the point. C.V. Boyes gravity.
Exactly. Yeah. I just wanted to show you that it's not a blanket statement that the higher education, the high learned is strictly general theory of relativity in Einstein. Because you got the highest of the high, Laurent Hodges, there at the astronomy department, and just focus solely on what? You guessed it, Newton. Or, we say Newton because everyone knows it's Newton. It's classical mechanics, but it's not really Newton, and we're going to get into that right now, why it's not. So, like I said, moreover, the booger eaters ascribe gravity to Newton. Well, this is very interesting. Very interesting citation in a book. And this is from stanford.edu. So let's go ahead and read this together. In a letter to Dr. Richard Bentley on February 25th, 1692, Isaac Newton says, "'Tis." I like that. I'm going to start incorporating that in both speech and letter. "'Tis inconceivable that inanimate brute matter should, without mediation of something else, which is not material, operate upon and affect other matter without mutual contact, as it must be if gravitation, in the sense of Epicurus, be essential and inherent in it." And this is the really important part. "And this is one reason why I desired you would not ascribe innate gravity to me. That gravity should be innate, inherent, and essential to matter, so that one body may act upon another at a distance through a vacuum, without the mediation of anything else, by and through which their action and force may be conveyed from one to another, is to me so great an absurdity that I believe no man who has in philosophical matters a competent faculty of thinking can ever fall into it." Uh-oh.
Yep.
What's going on here? Because they definitely ascribe it to Newton, don't they? Yeah, they do. Yep. Big problems right there. So that's when I first read this, then I took everything of Newtonian gravity off of Newton. I had to. I had no choice, because these are his words in an actual letter that exists. So I have to take that part off him. Now, I still give him his debunked laws, but gravity, I'm going to alleviate that guilt from him. And
Indeed.
I think I'm justified in doing so. Any
And
problem?
let me translate. Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
If I may translate that to 21st century English, hashtag not my hypothesis.
He's going to state that too. So, no problems with me relieving him of his gravity duties? I didn't think so. Turn out the lights, you mindless, wiki parroting pretender clowns. You're toast. You have absolutely no friggin' clue as to what you're talking about. See, that's what you get for mindlessly parroting wiki and or priests from your ball tart spinning space monkey congregation. Because that's all they're doing. From Laurent Hodges again, the evidence is clear that Michel and Cavendish both deserve credit for the Cavendish experiment. See, Laurent Hodges thinks this is an experiment, which is scary. Which should probably be referred to as the Michel Cavendish experiment. Huh, why? It was Michel who thought the experiment up, including inventing the torsion balance that is the heart of the experiment. It was Michel who built the original apparatus for the experiment, an apparatus clearly capable of producing the results desired. This is quite troubling. You got some preconceived biases in there? I don't know. I digress. The fact that the purpose of the experiment was to determine the specific gravity, i.e. density of the Earth, suggests that geology rather than theoretical physics was the motivation. Gotta love that. Thanks a lot there, Laurent. I appreciate what you do. So it should be known as the Reverend John Michel Cavendish. Non-experiment. Too funny. Thank you for that. And here we go, Arwen. Shout out to you. Back to the Principia from Newton himself. This is from the University of California. I have not as yet been able to discover the reason for these properties of gravity from phenomena, and I do not feign hypotheses. So guess what? He's telling you right now we are out of the natural science realm as soon as he stated it. Now, we don't need to know that because you guys know what a hypothesis is, and I know you've never heard a single scientific hypothesis from Isaac Newton regarding anything. I challenge you to find it, even outside of gravity. But I digress. For whatever is not deduced from the phenomena must be called a hypothesis. That's strange. And hypotheses, whether metaphysical or physical, or based on occult qualities, or mechanical, have no place in experimental philosophy. In this philosophy, particular propositions are inferred from this phenomena and afterwards rendered general by induction. Thanks for that one there. I appreciate that one too. I like your honesty. So he makes no hypothesis because he can't. It's nonsensical and it's not science. Let's marry that up with what Sean Carroll said what hypotheses are and how they're important in science. From Nature.com, one of the most prestigious journals in the entire friggin' world. California Institute of Technology physicist Sean Carroll arguing in the edge that hypotheses aren't simply useful tools in some potentially outmoded vision of science. They're the whole friggin' point. The whole point. And Newton just said he didn't have a hypothesis. So Sean, Newton said he has no hypothesis for gravity. So my question is, and I know I'm just spitballing here, how can it be friggin' scientific then? Well, we got a paradox. Because we got laws of identity violation if you even try to measure it. Or you even try to place the honor of science on anything, not only gravity, from Newton. Let's pile on. Remember that word I just told you above here by induction? Remember Newton said something about induction up here? Let me get right here. See that? and afterwards rendered general by induction. That tells you right away. Number 2, you already know it's not science. That's why I said let's start piling on. From the King Cheese philosopher of science, Karl Popper. Let's see what he has to say about induction. As mentioned in the section, The Problem of Induction, Popper's response to the problem of induction is simply that induction is actually never used in science. There you go. There's number 2. You just got double-barreled. I didn't have to do this. I just did the dance on his grave a little bit. Again, Karl Popper, a philosopher of science, sought to solve the problem of induction. He argued science does not use induction, and induction is in fact a myth. Moreover, the baller scientific community, aka pseudoscientific community, doesn't follow Newtonian, that is, Reverend John Michel Cavendish C.V. Boy's gravity. Yeah? George Musser, shout out to Scientific American. Einstein created his general theory of relativity, which provides what? Our modern understanding of gravity, with the express purpose of expunging non-locality from physics. Isaac Newton's gravity acted at a distance as if by magic, and general relativity snapped the wand in two by showing that the curvature of space-time, and not an invisible force, gives rise to gravitational attraction. So, he's saying that Einstein took that wand, that magical wand by Newton, and snapped it in two. You see how they connect? That's what he's trying to tell you.
Hold on.
Go ahead.
Yeah, QE showed how the bending of space-time. How did he show that?
I don't know.
Did he show a ball on a curtain and how it bent things? What was he doing to show that part?
I guess that's what Mooser's referencing. Yes, I would guess that. Yes.
Okay.
Yep. So it's not a force. I'm not going to provide the 30 citations I have, just a couple. From Caltech, Einstein came up with the theory of general relativity in 1915, the prototype of all modern gravitational theories. Its crucial ingredient, involving a colossal intellectual jump, is the concept of gravitation, not as a force, but as a manifestation of the curvature of space-time. Of course, we all know Brian Cox, there isn't really a force of gravity at all. So I'm asking you guys, can you reconcile your train wreck here for us? You got big problems. So Newton, Cavendish, and Weird Al's gravity are not the same. And one isn't derived from the other. Imbeciles. Number one, scientific theories never, ever, ever explain laws. That's just second grade stupid. You tossers. Newtonian gravity and Einsteinian gravity are mutually exclusive. Number two, Newtonian gravity is a force, as we all know, and Einsteinian gravity is not a force, as we all know. Number three, they're not even in the same friggin' geometry, for crying out loud. Newton gravity is Euclidean 3 space, whereas Einsteinian gravity is Pseudo-Riemannian 4 space. Number four, Newton's gravity, instantaneous actions at a distance. Oh, by the way, this little gem right here debunks special relativity. But I digress. And Einstein gravity is limited to the speed of light. Drunken sailors and field goal posts have more in common than Newton's and Einstein's fairy tales. If you were unsure. So why on earth are you still appealing to Newtonian Cavendish gravity, baltards? Remember, it's not Newton. I have to put him here so you know what I'm talking about. All that these crayon-munching wiki parroters are doing is taking an effect. Things fall to the ground 9.81 meters squared, which is bullshit, and then conclude by mere declaration, gravity is the cause. It's a non sequitur fallacy on its face. And besides, not everything falls to the ground at 9.8 seconds squared. They use this value, 9.81 meters per second squared, and put it into their fairy tale descriptive equations and say, it works. All in a pragmatic fallacy. Then they say, voila, gravity exists. The attribution or cause of this effect has not been identified or isolated, folks. That is scientifically validated. So this mass attracting mass train wreck, again, Reverend John Michelle Cavendish, CV Boys, and we've all heard it through the years. We still hear it to this day. The hypothesis, if mass, then mass attracts mass. If you heard it and then you stopped for a second and wondered if you're on a lewd-induced shroom coma, then yeah, there's problems with this. Given A, then A attracts A. It's this Mr. Magoo's circle jerk of the millennium. The independent variable here is mass. The dependent variable is mass attracts mass. That's non sequitur. It's really very stupid. Then I say define mass. That gets to be a lot of fun. On to Anne-Marie Helmenstein, PhD, Biomedical Sciences, because you know when I say define something, they're going to...
It's semantics. It's semantics that you're doing, QE.
Yeah? And? Again, Anne-Marie Helmenstein, PhD, Biomedical Sciences. Words have precise meanings in science. Uh-oh. This is prima facie. Oh, somebody wanted to add something?
Yeah, I mean, you can't expect like a precise definition of like a hypothesis to like stick to exactness or anything.
Yes, you can, and yes, it must. Dr. Mary
Well,
Schweitzer.
they don't think so.
They don't think. This isn't a think thing. This is an actual fact. Nathan loves this. Dr. Mary Schweitzer, exactly. That's one of the things I drive my students crazy on. Words count. Words are important. Choose your words carefully, sunshine. So, here we go. Let's get some mass in here. What the hell is it? Both of these from Wikipedia. Mass is both a property of a physical body and a measure of its resistance to acceleration. Okay. Ruh-roh, Shaggy. From Wikipedia again, inertia is the resistance of any physical object to its change in velocity. This and this are saying the same thing. Saying the same exact thing using different words down here. Change in its velocity, yeah, that's acceleration. They have to use resistance. They can't get around that one. Yeah, it's the same thing. Well, there's a law of identity violation here. You got to pick one. In other words, like I said, they're the same friggin' thing. When these knuckle draggers mindlessly commit to mass's resistance to acceleration, this is a fringe benefit of that, by the way, then take them right where they want to go. Remember their hypothesis. If mass, then mass attracts mass, right? Now substitute the definition for what they just gave you. That's the wrong definition, but they think it's right. So just use it and put it right in their definition and substitute it for the words. So that's what we're going to do here for you. So ball-tard hypothesis. Once we substitute the definition for the words, we get given the resistance to acceleration, then the resistance to acceleration attracts the resistance to acceleration. You see how stupid that is? You don't. I don't know the cure. Mass definition number 2. Uh-oh, you realize there's many problems there already. How can it have 2 definitions? So we're going to go with New York University. Very prestigious university, I might add. Mass is a measurement of the amount of matter something contains. Really? Ruh-roh, Shaggy. From the Royal Society of Chemistry. Coming right behind him with a spade shovel. The mole became part of the International System of Units, the SI, in 1971. Currently, it is defined as the amount of substance that contains. Uh-oh. Even though this is a specific amount, it still doesn't preclude that the amount of substance something contains. Hope everyone's following me. You got a big problem here. These are the same friggin' thing. They have a tendency to do that. I don't know why. Oh, like I said, just because a mole is a specified amount of substance that contains, like I said, doesn't nullify or render null the fact that each are entirely based on the amount of matter or substance something contains. Tracking? By the way, from Chemistry World, moreover, studies have shown that the amount of substance is often incorrectly identified with mass. And they come up with a new mole definition, but that's Mock's next anyway. We've got some cross currents here. Not everyone's on the same sheet of music. I wonder why. Like I said, the tangled webs you mindless parroters weave. You're all confused because your pseudoscience priests are the ones that are confusing you. Let's get it from the experts. John Wheeler from Princeton and Edwin Taylor. What is mass? Nature does not offer us any concept as the amount of matter. Uh-oh. History has struck down every proposal to define such a term. Even if we could count the number of atoms or by any other counting method try to evaluate the amount of matter, that number would not equal mass. This is the crop killer right here. This one right here is an extinction level event by my buddy Max Born. Olivia Newton-John's grandfather, by the way. He's a Nobel laureate back in the day. Max Born, he's a heavy hitter. Listen to what he has to say about our little topic here. In ordinary language, the word mass denotes something like the amount of substance or quantity of matter. Yeah, that was one of the definitions we got above there, Max. You're right. These concepts themselves being defined no further. Yep, Edwin Taylor and John Wheeler already spoke to this. They're not defined. The concept of substance is considered self-evident. This is really important part right here. In physics, however, as we must very strongly emphasize, not only strongly emphasize, but very strongly emphasize, the word mass has no meaning. I've been trying to tell these guys this for years. Ever since I come out here, I ran into this mass train wreck well before Flat Earth. You're screwed. Now, if you think the last part of this saves you, you're even numptier than I thought. So the really important part in physics, however, as we must very strongly emphasize, the word mass, it has no meaning in physics. So what's it doing there? Don't know. Max should have stopped right here, but he train wrecked himself. And he says, other than that given by formula, I really don't care. And then train wrecks himself anyway, because every mathematician, now we're talking about formulas, we're outside of physics. Now we're talking about formulas. Max should already know that each and every variable must be rigorously defined. Well, if it's a given by formula, but the word mass has no meaning, you got some problems in Shangri-La there, Max. You just contradicted yourself. And he's going to do it again. It is the measure of the resistance to the changes of velocity. No, it's not. That's the definition of inertia. And definition of inertia hasn't changed as far as I look back. We just went over it above. This right here is an extinction level event. Every time you see the word M or somebody, mass, their entire argument is void. Why? Because it has no meaning. It's like dividing by zero. It's utterly meaningless. Every single one. That should put some hair on your back. Let's stop off in a Newtonian train wreck. We're gonna deal a little death blow here to Newton outside of gravity. But since it's falsely attributed to him, see, I need to take a shower after this, right? Because it's not, he said don't attribute it to him, but they attributed it to him. And then now I'm going to come back with quantum mechanics and destroying. Let's just keep this in the context of his laws, not gravitation. How about that? That'll make me feel better. So from Professor Shankar, chair of physics at Yale, so we're not talking about the community college down the street. The laws of physics are always quantum mechanical laws. You don't have separate laws for big and small things. The real question is, how do these very same laws, when applied to big things, by big things I mean the things you see in daily life, give the impression that the world is Newtonian? This is the important part of this statement. It gives the impression. If I give you the impression that I'm Superman, am I Superman? No, I'm not. Actually, I am, but that's tale for another story. From Richard Feynman. The discovery of quantum mechanics first, and then in the behavior of light, and then the behavior of matter, finally culminating in 1926 with the full equation of quantum mechanics, which told us that the laws of motion of Newton were not right. Just come right out and says it. Why don't the pseudoscience priests know this? I don't know. It's from one of their high priests. He told them. Don't know. Here we go again, Professor Shankar from Yale. All right, so today we're going to shoot down Newtonian mechanics and Maxwell's theory. We'll get to that here in a second. We're like the press. We build somebody up only to destroy them. Sidebar, pummeling James Clerk Maxwell, one of the Ether progenitors, by way of Huygens, Christopher Huygens. So here's what you do to find out what's wrong with electrodynamics. I mean, Maxwell's theory. It all starts with the double slit experiment. So everything looks good for Maxwell till, I love this word. I'm going to digress here a second. If you want to do an outrageous Bible study, get your concordance and find everywhere it says till. It's an interesting Bible study right there. But I digress. So everything looks good for Maxwell till you start doing the following experiment. Wonder which one they're talking about. It's not an experiment. We can talk about that. It's a demonstration. It's Moxnick. It's regardless. It destroys Maxwell and Newton. All in different aspects, but the same one. Again, from Professor Shankar, first I want to tell you what goes wrong with Newtonian mechanics. The double slit experiment is a problem. That's what puts the nail in the coffin for Newtonian physics. I'm going to show you exactly what that is right now. So we have a double slit demonstration with a Newtonian particle, an electron. We close one slit and fire a bevy of electrons, and we get 10 hits at point A. We close that slit and open up the other slit and fire a bevy of electrons, and we get 8 hits at point A. The Newtonian prediction, that's not a scientific prediction. I digress again. The Newtonian prediction would be if we fired the same bevy of electrons with both slits open, we must get 18 hits at point A. What do we get? We get a big fat 0. And what does that mean? Here is Professor Shankar from Yale. His conclusion at the end. That is the end of Newtonian physics. That's it. It's all over right there. There's no ands or ifs or buts. So why do I hear people talking about Newtonian physics? Why? There's some cross currents going along around this mug. Yeah, I shortened this up. I took all the comments and put them in a small list. So in relation to Newtonian classical mechanics, if you see this term, classical, it always refers to Newtonian. All right? If you see somebody say classical mechanics, it's Newtonian mechanics. So in relation to Newtonian mechanics, shoot down, the nail in the coffin, destroy, that is the end of. And the laws of motion of Newton were not right. I mean, what do you guys get out of that? I mean, what
get out of it?
What is particularly confusing about this? Have a nice day. Goodbye, Newton. Sing it with me now. I'm not going to sing.
Arwin got in just before you ended. There was another rhetorical question you asked. Why do they still appeal to a Newtonian? But Arwin can go first.
Go ahead.
Well, yeah, because it is the intro mechanism that kind of helped people to get a early grasp on how physics would work. But I personally, you should call it Newtonian mechanics, not physics. It isn't physics. It's a mechanics system. It's not physics. So Newtonian mechanics, as far as I'm concerned, is fine. It's like a toy. It's a thing you can do. It's not physics, though.
Well, you could treat it that way. That's fine. It's definitely, I agree, it's definitely not physics. You had something, Nathan?
Okay, so you said, why do they still appeal to Newtonian mechanics? Well, because they still need force, and Newtonian gravity offers them the force that they've been brought up with and indoctrinated into believing, because there's still a fundamental part of everybody's hardwired brain that thinks that they've got a force holding them to a spinning water ball. That's why.
Huh. But shouldn't Newtonian or Newtonian physics, shouldn't that have that been expunged from all of physics?
No, no, because it's indoctrinated into everybody still in the education system to this day.
Well, Professor Shankar
I mean, in literal terms, yes. Should it been? It has been. It's a matter of fact. But why isn't it? Well, because people still have it taught to them in schools.
All right, fair enough. They shouldn't, as a result of this statement from the chair of physics. I don't know how you get much higher than this. That is the end of Newtonian physics. Game, set, match. So, yeah. Good luck navigating your way around Shangri-La, folks. All right, on to Einstein. A little bit of fun here. We ain't going to spend a lot of time here because we don't really need to. We'll go with the E equals MC squared train wreck. Somebody's got their mic open listening to this. Could you go on mute, please? Thank you. The E equals MC squared. This is pretty funny. Number one, it's horse pucky. Number two, equations can't explain. At best, they merely describe. That's the most they can do. This particular equation is a fairy tale. Watch. Remember before when I said every mathematician will tell you that every single variable in every equation must be defined rigorously. You probably already know this intuitively. But if you ask one, they will tell you that. So, A, I'm going to ask you when you got this. Also, Craig, fight the fat girth. He thinks E equals MC squared is the equivalence principle, by the way, which it's not. So if you hear us talking about that, that's a play on fight the fat Egypt. But I digress. So I'm going to ask you to define E. I'm going to ask you to define every variable here. So E, M, and C. You can bet that. What are we going to get? So let's start with energy. A, from Richard Feynman, it is important to realize that in physics today, we have no knowledge of what energy is. So it's train wrecked already. You're finished. You already know it was bad news because M is in the bullpen, right? And you already know that train wreck. Like I said, B, mass. Do I really need to go through this again? No, I don't. And you got problems with C too, because the speed of light is merely a convention. It's arbitrary. It's man-made. That's what they've agreed upon. You don't have the one-way speed of light. It's forever illusory. So in actuality, that whole thing, nothing is defined here. Nothing. There's nothing. Maybe the equal sign. What are you going to square nonsense? That's the only thing that's defined here. How is equal sign defined? Anyone?
Well, maybe they just use the...
That's not a maybe question.
Excitation of matter.
Same as.
Following the light.
I asked you a question. That means you answer that question and you go on your agenda after it. So I'm going to ask it again. What does equal mean?
Same as.
Superchat.
It doesn't mean
Same as.
superchat, but superfluid.
You hear me? Same as. It means the same as.
I'll get back to you in a second. We got a super chat. Dude, we get a beverage here, dude.
Okay, Kevlar. Let's talk measurements over at On the Level. Praying or I don't know, please hands or praying hands.
Let's talk on yeah. All right. Well, thanks for the super chat. You can go over. I'm sure it'll be a lot of fun. So where was I at? Oh, you meant the same as? This is in English. E is. And I will accept the same as, but you need to be more concise.
Well,
Oh, sorry.
It all depends.
3 words not as concise as one. My bad.
Guys, it all depends on what your definition of is.
Is. Thanks, Arwen. Appreciate that. All right, so we're going to go to the primary school falsification. I am going to skip the adult falsification because I don't think I don't want to give it that high of a status, because after the primary school falsification, it's dead on arrival. So we'll just do this one. Primary school falsification. Time is a conceptual relationship between two motions. Specifically, it's based on alleged single rotation of the Earth on its axis with respect to the sun a day. That's in the fairy tale concept, mind you, granted. It's a concept. This is the overall arching type of idea that I want to relay here. It's a concept that is time. It's not physical. It is without chemical formula or structure. It has no dimensionality or orthogonality and no direction or location. You can't put time in a jar and paint it red. I mean, come on now, let's reason together. Can you dilate, bend, or warp non-physical concepts? I mean, just ask yourself that. I mean, it's delusional at this point, not even non sequitur. Obviously, it's reification, but it's delusional reification. Is it your contention that if you have poison ivy on the brain, you can scratch it by thinking of sandpaper? Freedom is also a concept. Can you bend that? I like that one. That I got memory. I digress. It got nostalgia for me. This is profound. Listen to this closely. That which you are using to measure isn't the thing that you're measuring. A football field is 100 yards long, but a football field isn't yardsticks. If I bend a yardstick, does the football field bend also? The yardsticks are analog to the clock. The football field is analog to time. So if something, say, affects cesium atomic clocks, or any modern clock for that matter, does that then ipso facto mean that the Earth's alleged rotation in relation to the sun is affected? I'm putting this to globetards because this is what they adhere to, right? The Earth's alleged rotation in relation to the sun, that's the basis of time. So you follow, I'm in their paradigm. So I'm going to put it to them in their paradigm. Like I said, cesium atomic clocks or any modern clock for that matter, does that then ipso facto mean that the Earth's alleged rotation in relation to the sun is affected? They have to be saying that if they say yes. Does everyone get that? So you hold them to their standard in their paradigm. These two mytho-mathematical fairy tales, both special relativity and general relativity, they weren't scientific to begin with, by the way, were falsified 30 seconds after their respective publications by third graders at recess, for goodness sakes. In total, each are massive reification fallacies on nuclear steroids at their base. Now, they're delusional, and I'll show you why, and it's all pseudoscience. It's all crock of crap. Yeah? That was easy. I'm not going with the grown-up falsification because I don't think it deserves it, even though I have the write-up for it. We're going to go by that. So let's tie a bow around gravity. Now, I put both Newtonian, Cavendish, and Einstein's disheveled offerings. I'm taking Newtonian out. I only do that so you'll recognize who I'm talking about. But it's not him. It's actually John Michel Cavendish and C.V. Boyes, okay? So let's tie a bow around gravity. That's John Michel Cavendish, C.V. Boyes, which walks around pretending it's Newtonian gravity, and Einstein's disheveled offerings, and pulverize them together. Check this out, folks. I love this. I really like
this.
Right,
so it's basically plagiarism, right? They plagiarized Newton's name to take cover for their gravity. It's like, well, it's like his gravity. No, it's not. That's not mine.
It's like stolen valor. So I don't know about plagiarize. It's stolen valor, definitely.
But his name, like,
he
didn't want to use it, so other people then use his name in his stead. And there's nothing he could do about it.
Yeah, because he's dead. And they couldn't. In fact, they couldn't do it even for like 100 years after he was dead. That's how would I want to say important his status was during that time. So, like I said, this is one of my favorite comparisons right here, and I'm going to use one of your homeboys over there, Nathan, if you don't mind. You and Adam. Is Adam still here?
Oh, okay. Don't know. Adam, you there?
You sleeping on me? I didn't forget about you. But
I'm not sleeping. I'm just not too hot. But yeah, I'm still here.
All right, sir. So I'm going to use one of your homeboys. I don't know if you know him, but I knew about this guy many years. I knew it even before my Evotard days. But Martin Rees, I always liked him for some reason. He always had a way about him, but I digress. Martin Rees, FRS, astronomer royale with cheese, esteemed British cosmologist and astrophysicist. Listen to what he has to say from Princeton Press. What causes gravity and mass? Is the universe infinite? How did atoms assemble on at least one planet around at least one star into beings able to ponder these mysteries? Yeah, sure. These questions still baffle all of us. What questions? Well, the questions that he just asked you. Guess we ain't going to deal with the other questions. Guess what was the first question out the gate? What causes gravity and mass? We already know they can't define either, but even in their paradigm, from one of their stellar pseudoscience priest, we're talking high level here with Martin Rees. He's asking what causes gravity and mass, but no one can answer him. What? You better be able to answer those questions, because that's what natural science is. Identifying this monkey. Right? That's the whole point. Remember Sean Carroll up there talking to you about hypotheses? Yeah, that's the whole point of hypotheses, the cause. So, I'll ask you, according to Professor Rees, does mass attracting mass cause gravity? Which is stupid, I understand that. We already debunked it above. But just according to Martin Rees, I'm asking in that context. No, because he's still baffled. According to Professor Rees, does space-time cause gravity? No. Why? Because Professor Rees is still baffled. Get it? Real scientific theories identify the cause, like I was saying above, of the effect. Okie dokie, the general theory of relativity is a theory of gravity, right? So, ballers, you have a scientific theory without a cause? It's like a cow without a ribeye. Or many ribeyes, I should say. Ballers got nothing. Alice in Wonderland has more veracity. Have a nice day. Questions, comments?
Superchat.
Superfluid.
You and my son just said superfluid at the same time. That's so funny. Vlad on 0 degrees. Share the show with your gravity-infected friends. Thanks for the great presentation, QE, and the panel. And shout out to everyone in Discord and on YouTube. Thanks, Vlad.
Thanks, Vlad. Appreciate it, sir. That was really good.
Yeah.
That was. Hold on a second,
Okay,
Nathan. Before you jump in there, wasn't there? He said something that caught my attention. What was it? Share this show with your gravity-infected friends. Nicely done. Go on, Nathan.
I was just going to echo the same sentiment. Good presentation, as always.
Next time we do a gravity presentation, I'll pick another one. We'll see where we get to.
Yeah, we're kind of starting at the beginning, though, right? Which is addressing the 108-year out-of-date gravity, and then pointing out it's actually CV Boy's Reverend John Michell and Cavendish gravity. Sort of the starting point for undoing notion of gravity. I mean, it's weird that we're starting here, because it's only in recent days that we're starting to actually look at people like Michelle Hostel and Pfeffler and her relinquishment of old Newtonian ways and gravity as a force. We can, then start mocking Einsteinian gravity, which is far, far easier to debunk. And it just reminds me of a few years back where you were pointing out to us as a panel why you would have to go through this exact rigmarole. And that is because the majority of people still think there's a force of gravity when it's not even their own rhetoric. So first you have to bring your opponent up to speed on their own damn rhetoric so that you can take them onto pseudo force space so you can laugh at them about pseudo force space.
Yes. It's quite embarrassing for them, especially if you're in a venue that has a lot of people and you got a confident baller that comes out, spilling his guts about Newtonian mechanics and his infection that he has, and he's got all the knowledge, and it just dissemble him. Just right in front of everyone. And then you don't really get to the end because, they're going to have some pride and it's going to circle the drain. You know how it goes. That's what you get. Right? You can pretend to clown fraud in your way in there half-stepping. You're gonna get your ass handed to you. Yeah, this is a big cluster. And now what we got going, and like you said so poignantly the other day, I think I heard that clip this morning. So now what we got is we've got gravity replacers in our midst. And it all stems from, does it stem from ether? Is the incoherent dielectric acceleration connected to the ether? Can we disconnect those, or are they attached by the lips?
No, they're attached.
Okay. I wasn't sure because I don't know what ether is. Right? So that's what we got going on out there now. It's the battle for gravity. As I always said, the ether and the dielectric acceleration, which he just connected, that's the pretender clown flat earthers, dark matter and dark energy people. And they're vying for position. That's what's going on out there now. It's been going on for a while now. I just don't want to say now. It's been going for quite some time, in fact. But I just want to point it out to you so you're not caught off guards.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Based on the first discussion we had on this particular show, it seems that what history may document is going to be the Dave Weisses of the realm, isn't it? If this is our resurgence in the history that Brian laid out, then in 2050 they'll be talking about ether. That'll be the main focus. Oh well, that'll be what gets taken away. In a very negative light, if you look forward in a negative way, where we don't stamp this garbage out.
Yeah. That's what's going to happen because they're using the same tactics and techniques as the pseudoscientists used to get you believing in a ball tart. Same thing, etherites. You haven't realized that yet. You don't see that.
Well, if they don't, it's nice that we can, with some hindsight, point out that we have attempted, or I very specifically have attempted to approach etherites with an educational tool of science and the scientific method in terms of how it takes a ball apart, and it's been rejected. And the reason has just been summarised by QE. It's the exact same pseudo-scientific tactics that got you on a ball are now being used to convince you that there's an ether. I don't want to give the long list of what potentially could define what ether is, but notwithstanding that we haven't actually got a definition really of what ether is, they're using pseudoscience to convince you of it, whatever it is. Ether.
Yeah, they're substituting it. Like I said, it's the pretender clown flat earthers, dark energy and dark matter. Same thing. It's almost they put it in false dichotomy against unknowingly, unwittingly. That's what they're doing. Be careful out there, people.
Well, it's drawing you into the pseudoscience type thinking that is being employed by the ball construction and kind of like using the same type of reasoning mechanism. Yeah, conceptual, false. And then that's what they're doing, replacing the globe, basically.
The guy the other day that said that maybe he likes going into Narnia. Was that Apocryphon?
Hey, Neil.
When breaking.
Neil, why do you sound like not Neil?
I'm really sick.
Oh, I'm
I
sorry.
should just.
I'm sorry. Okay.
I think it was apocryphon.
So what was your, I didn't catch your question because I was just I was beside myself at your voice. I was like,
Yeah, me too.
I was like, what the hell is going on here?
God. It hurts to laugh.
Yeah, yeah, you shouldn't.
on the other-
Go ahead. Very quickly, what was your question? What was your point?
He was on the other day talking about ether, and then he ended up saying, maybe I like playing in Narnia. And this is what you have.
Yes, I remember that. Yeah, okay. Yeah, on Nathan's show. Yep. Somebody else said the same thing. Now, they didn't say the same thing. They related a similar feeling that they had when Adam sent. Remember the new guy that's not around anymore? What was his name? Remember Adam sent him on a mission? Neil, you know his name.
Blind Spot.
Blind Spot. Yeah, remember he sent Blind Spot out on a week's, I think it was over a week's travel. So because he was brand new, and he wanted him as the what the heck was Adam's title? The Ether Emissary. Yeah, there it is. The Ether Emissary. Adam put him on a mission for over a week to go out and discover what these Etherites were talking about. And he came back with that same remark that they like to play and imagine. It was what did he exactly say? There was a phrase that he used. It was.
He said it was enticing.
Enticing. That was right on the tip of my tongue. Yeah, that's exactly right. That's exactly what he did. And that's what caught me off guard. Enticing. Yep. Sure. Yep.
Figured out the full swindle. Right? What is it that is enticing about heliocentrism? It's fantastical, isn't it?
Yes.
It's got a lot of mystery and potential and places to explore and things to discover. It's very, very enticing. So the whole aspect of not knowing various different aspects of theatre offers up intrigue. There's explanations for various different heliocentric aspects that you've now had to relinquish that are fulfilled in the new heliocentric replacement of ether, along with lots of intrigue, lots of various different useful stolen valor, electronics information. So there's a whole kit and caboodle package put together to keep people intrigued.
Yes, that's very well played, Nathan. Yeah. Nice.
I'd like to.
Yeah, comparison. Hey, what's up, says who? Yeah.
Hey, I'd like to add something else to this, which I caught what's it saying the other day. I think it's Gravity 2.0 for the very insecure flat Earth believers out there. I'll try to tie this in because the idea that things have an acceleration up or down depending on the medium that they're in is so simplistic that it can't be right. And so when Whitsitt said the other day while you were in the Earth Awakenings server that what am I supposed to do? Someone's making a claim about gravity. I have to answer them with something. So they give them a totally Gravity 2.0 fantastic explanation as to why things go up or down. And then you had Dicelo coming along and say everything has a downward bias, and he's buying into the same nonsense. So they're so insecure about things being simple that they're going to throw out their version of baloney to counteract the very confident, we'll say it, the gaslighting technique of you don't believe in gravity, and so they have to have an answer. So that's what they give them.
Very good insight, says. Hey, Nathan, we got a sharp cookie amongst us.
Yeah, as soon as he started talking, I was like, I could easily interrupt and take this point to conclusion because it's fantastic. This is great. I had to stop myself interrupting. That was wonderful. Yeah, I think you're right. It's just down to insecurity and, moreover, the more important word, belief. They don't know it's flat, and they need substitutes for the former belief they held. And their former belief had a lot of intrigue. And this has got a lot of intrigue. It's a nice little parallel. The fact that it also parallels with gravity, which is obviously why we're discussing it now, is pertinent, right? That's the main problem we're dealing with. A nice little substitute for people on the edge that still don't know it's flat that parallels alongside the heliocentric model. Very little damage are going to be done by people like that. Let's be honest. So let's keep them all in that little place. As many as possible, at least.
Awesome.
Super chat.
Superfoot.
There you go. It's Kevlar again. Turn up says hello. Wave, a hand wave.
Well, hello. Thank you.
Yes, hello. Yes.
Isn't that the appropriate response?
I would say so. Sounds right.
Another hilarious thing. I just thought of it. I did put it in BALLBUSTERS. Let me get exactly what Nathan said. BALLBUSTERS Skype. So let me pull that monkey up. You never read these, so. You said something hilarious while you're in Earth Awakenings, the Jane Fonda server, you know, the one that Land of Misfit Toys? When you're talking to Shits at 10?
I'm to be worried.
No.
Oh, okay.
No.
Hey, let's hear it.
Yeah, okay. No, yeah, you're not. No worries. I think Shits at 10 responded to something that you said. I can't remember exactly what he was, but he finally got a clue about a certain aspect. Is somebody echoing through my... Go on, Mo.
Me, sorry.
Yeah, that's Nathan.
Oh, it's Nathan. So, like I said, Shits at 10 finally, you know, he understood some aspect of the simple concepts that you were trying to relate to him. And right after that, you caught that he understood what you were saying. You said, "What's at 20? I added you 10 IQ points." And he went right past it, right? I nearly pissed myself. But he missed it.
I thought you meant something else. So he started an argument for flat Earth on the flat Earth front foot, and like Brian did earlier, actually, to be fair to him, he then curtailed it into they can't do that on a flat Earth. But I praised him. I'm like, now we're singing from the same hymn sheet. I thought that's what you were going to refer to, because I basically told him at the end, this is basically your idea, isn't it, Witsit? Now you're agreeing with me.
Yeah. Oh, that was classic too. But yeah, that little. So you're now. You said you're now Wits at 20. I added you 10 IQ points. I retract those 10 IQ points. Very well done. It was shaky in the beginning. Oh, and the thing that he was putting forward is they. Well, they may have some problems with your with celestial navigation, and this is the reason why they do it. The they that he was talking about was he and Jaren, that treasonous, treacherous traitor. That's who the theys were, by the way. Right? You understand that, right?
I don't really know what the they, in what circumstance you're referring to.
Yeah,
actually.
the they he was talking about because he had problems with attaining elevation angles. He said that was a how did he put it? A weak argument off a curved earth.
Yes, I do. Yes, I do remember now. Yes, I do remember.
If you listen in the background, you hear me say, "Okay, Jaren."
Yeah, I did hear that. Yeah. I heard it after the fact. Yes. Yeah, so when he was stating, well, they might have some problems with this flat earth measurement. That's why I wrote to you and said, well, just define elevation angle and it's all over. Because Shits at 10, he's geometrically illiterate. Right? And you just could have and he got it via Jaren, who was Jedi mind tricked by McBooger Eater. So those are the they. So McBooger Eater, Jaren, and Shits at 10. That's why he objected to the what a train wreck argument he made too. I might just publish that. If I get a feeling, I will. But I just wanted to relay that. I don't want to get into all that much. It's I've already exposed him so much that it's Jane. I was going to say Jane Fonda's blushing. Mae West is blushing.
Yeah, I hadn't figured that out actually, and I didn't hear you say, yeah, Jaren in the background.
Yeah, it was a
Oh,
weekend.
it's
Interesting.
It
You
was a week.
listen, you hear me say,
Well, I'll listen back. That will have made the edit. I've turned that into about a 40-minute video. It's members only at the moment, but I will release it at some point. Maybe tonight. Maybe
it was
after
right
the show.
at the. It was right, not at the beginning when you came in. Immediately, within 5 minutes of when Shits at 10 came in. So that
Maybe
can
it's
help.
on the live show then. Fair enough.
Yeah, that can.
I didn't
pinpoint-
realise that. Or no, I should say I hadn't figured that out or put that together. No.
That'll pinpoint it for you. All right. Anything else?
Ooh. No.
Uh-oh. Let me get rid of this one. 1 second. I'm not ready. So what do you think, Nathan? You want to take us home?
Yeah, if you want me to.
Or do you guys
That-
well, hold on. Or does somebody have something to add? Do you guys anyone have anything to add, presentation or anything at this point?
I
So-
kind of wanted.
I have
to
something.
I kind of wanted to ask about like where do you think that the anti-flat earther version reified gravity, where that's going? Is that thing gonna make it to like the mainstream, or are they gonna try to wheel it all the way in there? Is Neil deGrasse Tyson gonna say anything like the emergent force of gravity caused by gravity, or you think never?
He's already
Because my
commented on it.
physics gained
As for
popularity.
what gravity is, I don't know. That's
Well, maybe he'll say like there's guys on the internet that have like a very interesting theory about how this space-time Einstein gravity causes the Newtonian form of gravity. He'll just say it, maybe. What do you think? Yes? No? Maybe?
Who knows?
Well, I was going to say, if they do, they're going to figure out pretty quickly, if they've watched this presentation, that the Einsteinian pseudo-force-based geometry doesn't fit within the Euclidean name-only Newtonian. So, I mean, you can say all you like that one is compatible with the other. It simply isn't the case, though. No amount of justification from, I don't know if you're referring to Fight the Flat Earth or George Musa or whoever. No, it matters not what you say when there's two different geometries at play.
Exactly.
Do they have to be compatible if one causes the other?
What?
Geometries, no. Geometries don't cause other geometries. That's absurd.
Not even within mathematics?
No.
A framework to work within when you describe something mathematically, fourth dimensionally, is that framework that you will describe that specific aspect in pseudo-force space with. That is its geometry. To say, the way I'm going to describe a concept that Einstein's come up with, it's going to cause... Whoa. How you describe something will cause something. No. Absolutely not.
Yeah, that's non sequitur. That's insane.
All right, thank you for clarifying.
Yep. Says who? Was that you that wanted to add something?
Yeah. And I'll
Welcome
try
to the
make it
show, by the way.
because I know we're trying to.
No,
thank
we're not
you.
trying to
I love
round
being
out.
here.
Say Sue's
Hold on.
great. Oh, everyone clear the airwaves. Say Sue's had loads of good input recently.
I was going to say,
appreciate
just wait
that.
a second. Just wait a second. Number one,
All right.
welcome to the show. Number two, you seem like a sharp cookie because I've heard you before and other places too. So welcome. You're invited here whenever you like. Floor is yours.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I really do. Earlier, when you and Brian were talking about, leading off with "we treat the Earth as flat," it made me think of something that I heard in another forum the other day. People were talking about chess and how one of the hardest things to do is to figure out how you're going to do your opening, which is just the first few or one or two moves, right, as to how you're going to set up your strategy after that and how they respond. And I think I'm just going to go ahead and try to encourage everybody who thinks that they are a seeker of truth or a flat earther or whatever you want to call yourself. If it's not important to you, you won't do the work to be well rounded. Knowing your opening is important, and having a strategy after that is important. But this is like it's like playing chess to me, because I don't think I've had two conversations that are the same, like with people that and familiar with, it's gone well, and other people that I'm familiar with, even family members, it's gone awry quickly just because of their bias. It turns out this is more about a preferred position than it is about facts, but it also has to do with knowing who you're talking to, because if they're a zealot, it will never go anywhere. It's like playing chess with somebody who you knock all their pieces off, you take all their pieces away, and they keep putting them back on there and say, no, you didn't prove this, and no, you didn't, and they'll lie, and they'll never be put in checkmate. They'll never lay their piece down. Anyways, my experience has been your opening is important, but sometimes I don't know if it's always wise to lead with right off the bat. The earth is measured flat. I think you have to know your customer, and I think you have to be well-rounded. But this is, of course, just my opinion. But I don't know. That's been my experience.
I'm not necessarily talking to people who go out there to debate, and I have qualified that, right? If you are of the opinion that you want to be contentious with the people who are on a sphere, that is to say you want to engage in debate in the subject, and I've qualified what my statement previously by saying then you need to visit these shows, and you need to really educate yourself on heliocentrism so that you can argue the toss. As an attitude for us as flat earthers moving forward, we've had 10 years of convincing ourselves that the earth is flat by way of belief, by understanding how the globe doesn't work. And as an attitude readjustment, if we are generally just of the attitude that we're always just showing how earth is measured flat internally, and that is an attitude that would come across to others. It'll put people in a better position when they leave a show that they've maybe only had a cursory glance at. That is to say that I'm not necessarily talking about people who do want to engage in debate. I'm talking about the cursory guy who comes to this discussion. I'll give you another comparison. I can't remember what specifically was being discussed on one of the videos I was watching on YouTube, but it's a guy that's talking about feminism. He's having a debate. I can't remember who it was. But as a cursory viewer, I had no vested interest or cared how the debate outcome went. I didn't care. But within 10, 15 minutes, I probably got bored and moved on to a different video. Now, if that debate was positioned such that it was about flat Earth, and within 5 minutes of the opening of the discussion, I'm clear and understand from the point of view of the person from the flat Earth side that they've measured Earth flat. And that's going to be the lasting impression I leave that, which for most people is that most people aren't that committed to the globe, believe it or not. When you go out into normie society and start talking about this, get a few raised eyebrows, don't get me wrong, but most people are intrigued by what you have to say. They're not hyper defensive. Some are. For the most part, people are just intrigued. That is to say, they're not so married to the globe that they care enough for it to trigger them. Yeah?
Yeah.
Now, for that guy that comes to the flat Earth discussion and happens to find us, I want them to go away, not necessarily after 15 minutes with a uber understanding of how to debate the globe, because you're not going to get that after 15 minutes. If we're always leading on the front foot with Earth is measured flat, us internally, the flat Earthers here, and that's why I say I'm doing this in the forums like Earth Awakening. They're our peers. And we are the educators of flat Earth. So how should we behave as educators of flat Earth? We should lead with Earth being measured flat. It's our first chess move. What's the first piece you lay down on this chessboard? Ours is a flat Earth measurement, rather than a defensive strategy, rather than pointing at them and telling them that they're not going to be very good players, getting them annoyed.
Yeah. I do agree. I do agree. I think QE at one time said something that stuck with me for a while. That is, every lie has like a paradox in it. Is that right, QE? You've said that before.
Correct. At least one.
And right. So I think what we are dealing with is people that will walk up to us and say, "Here's the ball," and they're standing in front of the flat plane that they used to measure it with. Right. And so it's kind of like they're hiding the truth behind the thing that they're shoving in your face. And John, Refracted Curvature, the other day said something interesting too about the trigger word. As soon as there's a trigger word, that you hear that trigger word and you show them instantly how that thing that they're trying to show you came from a flat plane. You have to move them out of the way and say, well, you got this from the flat plane in the first place. You got this from the flat earth in the first place. And I think so far I've been using that tactic, and it's been fairly effective. So I will say in the wild, this does work, where they will go, here's the curvature, and I'll go, yes, but that came from the flat plane. And then it kind of fizzles out after that. So I agree with
exactly. This is an evolution of objections to people saying you can't just lead with you're going to need a flat Earth for that. It is an extension of that, which is to say, once you're in the wrangle dangle, it's not leading on the front foot anymore, but it's a debate that shows that you're not showing how your globe doesn't work, but showing how their globe does work with a flat Earth first. So in other words, it's not so contentious to say your globe doesn't work, you don't have an R value. It's a repositioning that says your globe came from an R value that was measured off a flat plane, and then potentially or derived from an Al-Biruni to a horizontal plane of reference. In other words, you're trying to get agreement from them, where in previous videos when we've seen exactly that, Al-Biruni being discussed by globers, and they'll smirk at that point with a recognition, oh, people might start calling me a flat earther when I tell them they got the height off a flat plane. Yeah, so you understand he's measured Earth flat then. That's the angle that we would be going forth. It's not the same as going forth on the front foot with flat Earth, but it's taking the angle in debate that you're going to need a flat Earth from that. You can only take that position if you're already on the front foot, seeking agreement every opportunity that they too measure a flat Earth. It's an attitude readjustment for I'm always going to be seeking that cue that lets me point out, if I'm in debate, that you're going to need a flat Earth for that. And if I'm not in debate, I don't have to proactively point out anything for the globe when I can just say Earth was measured flat. And that has a much, much more positive and profound effect on a newbie. So there is quite a lot to this. Ultimately, the overarching point is summarised by, if you're a flat earther, start telling people Earth's flat. And that works in rebuttal if you're debating about it. Debate them with the fact that Earth's flat for them too. Just that is the, then you're always putting your primary position forth rather than undoing their primary position every single time you enter into a debate. Well, the globe doesn't work because of this. If they say this is how the globe works, look for the angle to find where they will have, undoubtedly, because it's a fact, used a flat Earth measurement to get there, so you seek their agreement. You understand? It only happened recently with the guy from the neurologist. He did exactly the same thing. He's saying at the end of the process, it's so biggy, it's flatty. Okay, so we're both in agreement. Earth's measured flat then.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
I like it.
Flat jitsu.
Flat jitsu. Yeah. All right. Is that it?
That's it. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. You're welcome back anytime, sir. Nathan, my good man, take us home, sir.
With that, I'm going to say a huge, massive, enormous thank you to our Discord panel for making today's Ballbusters possible. And of course, a massive thank you to all of you for tuning in, liking, commenting, sharing, subscribing, hitting QA upon PayPal and all that good stuff. Also, a massive thank you to today's public interaction part of the Discord server for making the live interaction part possible. I've been Nathan Oakley. Another massive thank you to QE, our illustrious host, and we will see you all in the next Ballbusters.
According to the general theory of relativity, gravity is not a force. There are no gravitational fields. Gravity is kind of an illusion.
What the hell did you just say?
Gravity is kind of an illusion.
Oh,
In general relativity, there is no mystery. All objects appear to fall the same way because, well, they're not accelerating.
Oh, son of a... That's gonna leave a mark.
Let's put another shrimp on the barbie.
Gravity is just like that force. It doesn't actually exist.
Say what?
But in general relativity, there is no gravitational force. There is no gravitational field. Gravitational fields do not exist.
Prepare yourself.
Ball tards.
In standard Newtonian physics, we draw your weight force, the force of gravity pushing you down, and the normal force from the floor pushing you up. We say these forces are equal and opposite, so there's no net force on you, so you are not accelerating. But in general relativity, gravity is not a force. You have no weight, so the only force on you are these normal forces pushing you up. Gravity is not a force. There are no gravitational fields. You have no weight. Well, they're not accelerating. Gravity is kind of an illusion. Gravity is just like that force. It doesn't actually exist.
Hello, baby. Oh, well, everybody's heard about the bird. Bird, bird, bird. The bird's a winner.